Hello, everyone. How are we doing? How you
Hi
doing,
guys,
Adam?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for joining us again. Another week in the world of Britballin, the number one UK vodcast. No, I'm joking. No,
I
no.
think we're
Thanks
the
everyone for
only
joining.
vodcast, mate. To be honest,
That's why. Yep.
exactly those ratings,
That's
mate.
why. You can be number one if you're the only one. We are the best and worst ones. No, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you very much, firstly, for everyone joining us last week. Adam, I know you was kind of couldn't make it because you were being lazy, but we had a good couple of shows last week.
You say I'm being lazy. Hell of a shout out of Warburn, mate. Everyone's seen
I
it,
know, yeah, I know, yeah. Look at yeah, that's your cover photo now on Facebook, isn't it? Vernon
mate.
K, just
Mate,
game respecting game.
he put it on his Instagram now. So I was like, right, that's it. We're best pals now.
That's it, besties forever. No, so we've got a good show tonight. Bit of a different one from last week, I would say, and probably different from ones that we've done so far. Couple more guests on the show this week than we would usually have. We've got a full house, but we think for the best, don't we? Because to be honest, tonight's show really is about just having a chat. Obviously, it's let's talk, let's really talk, but it's talking about mental health. Talking about what goes on in the game, what we deem as acceptable, what should we be challenging, how should we be challenging, should it be challenged, should people be scared to challenge, and really just having a deep dive into that. And we're not going to fix anything, I don't think, tonight. We're not going to, hopefully, we won't be changing anything drastic in the game. But if we can help one person tonight, knowing that they've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people that can reach out to, if they are struggling, then hopefully this gives them a platform, and we think we're doing the right thing by doing that. So yeah, it might not be as fun of a show as we usually. It probably won't be as laughing jokey. Mind you, some of the guests that we've got on here, it probably will be regardless. No, but tonight's probably a little bit more of a serious one, but hopefully one that's definitely needed and one that we can really go about helping the game grow in the right way. And not being, the way potentially like a Sunday League Football League is run, if that makes sense. So that's kind of it in terms of the intro to the show. Should we bring our first couple of guests on, Adam? Oh, you've got a bit of housekeeping to go through first, haven't you?
I do, mate. I do. We've got a little bit of housekeeping to go through. So, as you can all see in down the bottom that side, this is
there you got it.
Down the bottom, powered by EP Sports. So, as you might have seen on our Instagram feed and things, and on EP's feed, we have partnered up with EP, which is amazing. Like, I'm over the moon with that. We are hoping to do some giveaways for guys that are, let's say, looking for some gear. We're the guys that can sort you out now, aren't we? So, EP's got some things that are lined up in the pipeline that are going to be really interesting. So we're going to bring those guys out into the vodcast land to show everyone off.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I think that's the point, isn't it? That we're partnering with them to hopefully give some giveaways away, some freebies for our people who actually stay with us. We go in once a week now for a couple of hours, sometimes twice. So hopefully it'll just be a chance to give back, because we are good people like that. Plus, I might try and swindle a free hoodie.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get some gear for other people, that's a bonus, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. But selfishly, if I can get a new hoodie, then that'd be fine by me.
You're just having
no, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. We have selfishly said, we have unselfishly said, the whole point of this partnership is to give. Anything we can get is giving back, and anything we do, we'll pay for in some regard.
We have got something coming out, which is I'm going to get to see later on in the vodcast, of one of our first items that we're going to be bringing out in our little EP store. So
yeah, we are.
We'll give you a little taste of that later on, and I'm not going to lie, I know everyone's going to love it.
You are
honestly, when I was like, I woke up in the middle of the night thinking of this. I was like, we need to do this. Message.
No, I appreciate the 12 phone call as well.
Yeah, Mike, get this sorted now.
I know. Yeah. I've had a bad week or two, and the last thing I needed was a Geordie ringing me at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah. So if you don't know, here's some Britball news.
I don't know why I set myself up for this.
Yeah, you just threw it up, man. I'm teeing off now.
That's it.
Our co-host, yeah, Mike, this side even. I can't do this. I don't know whether people do this. Mike has COVID, everyone.
I've survived. I'm a survivor now, I think.
Yeah, mate. So, I mean, first of all, what's it feel like? I mean, I know I've been on the phone to you every day, and I don't even think he's got it. I just think he's skiving from work. But, I mean, it has been kicking him a bit, hasn't it? Like, you felt a bit hungover and things, and...
Yeah, I think last Monday, I think it was harder. The show saved me last week, actually, I'll be honest with you, because Monday I was in a bad way. I was like I felt like, that's the best way to describe it. I felt like I'd had a really bad session. I was really, really hungover with a terrible chesty cough. So then I had to get my hair done, and my partner always winds me up about this. So for every show, I get my hair done. I have to put some trainers on and I brush my teeth and spray deodorant and aftershave. She's like, no one can smell you. I was like, but if I feel good, you look good, you play good, you perform well. So if you ever sit next to me on the show, I smell nice. But no, it actually got me up for it. So I got up for the show.
Absolute lie.
I mean, some people wear capes, and I'm just an ordinary guy with COVID doing shows on a Monday and Tuesday.
I'm just going to quickly fire in some comments before we get the guests involved. Sorry, guys, I know you are waiting in the wing. So we've got Will here, no Bedford. No, mate, no Bedford today. My son is up for the school holidays, so he's currently upstairs in his room. Will, again, partnered up. I call it selling out. He's just jealous.
Green, you're green like that logo, green.
Isn't he? You are EP Sports Green, mate. That's what you are. I keep going the wrong way. Right, we've got Liz. How are you feeling, Mike?
I'm all right. Thank you very much, Liz. Yeah, I'm troopering on, some might say.
Liz is hopefully someone that you guys are going to get to know very soon if some things in the background come off. I'm going to keep that quiet for now, so I'm just going to quickly fly through. Got a nice little crossbones there for you. I'm hope that's at you, man.
I think that's for me. That
and we've got Neil. #immune. He's not, mate. He'll get it again. It's just flu.
just hangover with the cough. Right. Mate. People are sick of us already.
They are. Let's get our guests on.
So first guest, he's already up. Is our dear friend Wayne Drew. How you doing, Wayne? You okay?
I'm swell, thanks. How are we doing, chaps?
Yeah, pleasure to have you on there, Wayne. And then obviously the friendliest top boy in the whole of Britball. There he is, Victor. How we doing, my man?
How you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, good.
I'm not going to lie, right? Do you know when you put on the Instagram that he was in Top Boy? Like, I looked and I was like, was he? I was like, the celebs are flying into Britball now.
I didn't. I just put Britain's top boy. I let you make put 1 and 2 together, and appears Victor.
I was flying, man. I was like, celebs are coming in. I was like, things are going up. EP sponsorship. We are laughing. I'm telling you.
Victor, what was that like? What was it like, Top Boy? I only know because I've seen a couple of. I've never watched it myself personally, but
you are missing out. Great show,
man.
I've been told this. Yeah, really good show.
A great experience. Like literally, a show for picked up from.
Which season were you in?
I was in the newest one, episode 8. So one of the guys that broke out, Dave. So yeah, we went in there. We shot that. That was my first day on set. We jumped out of this Range Rover about 40 times. Lucky it was a Range Rover because any other car, I would have done my back in. Nearly got run over by said Range Rover as well. It was like it was awesome, man. Like. A long day. Picked up at like 4:30 in the morning. Got dropped off at like 9. But that I did 5 days on set, and I'll tell you, it was good fun, man. It was great. Really professional job. Netflix threw hella money at it, and literally, if not for Britball, like it was a team group chat. Someone put up a little banner post that the street casting people do, and then I responded to that. 2 emails later, 2 auditions later, boom, they're sending free contracts. I'm like, what? I would have done this for free. And they started sending through contracts, mate. And I was just like, sweet.
Well,
That's decent.
although Britball is an unpaid profession of ours. Is any money you can pursue anywhere in
Mate,
Britball, chase it.
it's crazy. It's covered my subs for life, essentially. And I'm retiring soon, so 12 years worth. 12 years worth of subs is covered. So I can say thank you very much, Britball. And
Worth it.
That's worth it. Well done.
That's great.
No.
I mean, I remember years ago I was on Booze Britain, but I don't think I can tell that story on it. So I'll keep that one quiet.
On Crime Watch, weren't
you? Side pose, yeah.
Should we go?
Should we actually get serious now?
Yeah, no, we don't have to be too serious, but we can be serious enough where we
started with COVID, so it was pretty serious.
No, yeah, we've only dealt with life-threatening illnesses on the show. Anything else? No, but to be fair, as serious as it can get. Wayne, do you want to give a quick introduction to yourself and just tell us a little bit about Lifting the Lid and all the work you're doing behind and on the scenes for this?
Yeah, sure thing. So, for those that don't know, I'm Wayne. I've been playing American football since 2010. I've played for a handful of teams in the UK. I've played for a couple of teams outside the UK. I'm currently playing for Great Britain now. With regard to Lifting the Lid, it's a mental health awareness campaign. So the idea is that we increase awareness of mental health. And so far, it's been primarily focusing on mental illness, so people understand, how to recognise illnesses. So people who are suffering with mental health illnesses are able to establish that they have them, and then, hopefully seek help of some description. And obviously, for those people who have friends who are suffering as well, to be able to, acknowledge that that's occurring, and then, hopefully, again, speak to these individuals and provide help or reassurance and that sort of thing. So that's the aim.
So how long have you been doing this for, Wayne? When did you start and how did you come up with where did it come from, basically?
So it started in 2018. So it actually came off the back of a friend of mine, Chris Seal, a guy who played American football at Bath Spa, and he also played at the Coventry Jets, which is where I met him. He's also played elsewhere, but I can't remember off the top of my head where he played. So he played at Coventry Jets, and unfortunately he took his own life in November 2017. And off the back of that, I then sort of started. I started the campaign as a result of it.
Yeah, so you just obviously reacted to that, and did you say you were close friends with him and stuff, and you played with him and that?
So I played with him, and he was like one of the most happy-go-lucky guys. He was always smiling, always like energetic, and he was a real pleasure to be around. And when me and it was in a WhatsApp group. An old Coventry Jets WhatsApp group. We found out all together at the same time, and everyone was just bamboozled that this individual, Chris, he was able to, or he got to a point where he was so desperate that he felt like he needed to take his own life. He felt like that was the only way out, and we couldn't wrap our brains around it. So I started, educating myself about this sort of thing, and then tried to, help others understand how this all sort of works as well. So that was sort of how it was born, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I mean it's funny. I mean we joked about there, Victor, being working on a show and being an actor. I'm assuming that's the greatest act of all, isn't it? Putting up a front, and you find it all the time, don't you? That's the. And do you think that's natural because it's a like, dare I say, it's a man thing, or is it? Do you think that's a massive part of it because we don't necessarily show that weakness, or are we meant to show that weakness?
I feel like being that that humorous individual, the person who's cracking jokes irrespective of the situation. I feel like a lot of that acts as a coping mechanism, but also the stigma associated with people coming out and talking about it, obviously causes a lot of people to be reluctant, which is obviously why we're trying to, fight that stigma. both social stigma and the self stigma. So the social stigma being the things that people thinking that if you've got schizophrenia, you're always aggressive and you're putting people at risk. And the personal stigma of this means I'm weak because I've got a mental health issue, so I'm not going to go and seek help or confide in others. So those sort of things we're trying to tackle.
Yeah, no, completely agree. So, and you said it's been going pretty much since 2017. Is that right?
So it sort of kicked off in 2018 when me and Elliot Walters chopped some of our hair off.
Yeah,
trying to get a bit of money behind us to sort of start getting the ball rolling and increase awareness, which it sort of did, but obviously not enough yet. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So what is that overall? Obviously, you mentioned that overall goal there. Is it and it's okay to say this, is it a financial goal? Is it to generally just raise, where should people be aiming the focus? Is it do you want people to help? Do you want people to put the hands in the pockets? What's the overall goal for lifting the lid, really?
Ultimately, we want to have people completely content and happy and ultimately accepting of mental health issues, understanding that you can talk about mental health issues without it being, a sort of sign of weakness or any sort of like negative connotations associated with it. And it's a cliche when we talk about mental health illness. So if someone breaks their leg, you say, oh, you've broken your leg. People are happy to address that situation and talk about the recovery process, talk about the pain and all the associated issues. When it comes to mental health, obviously, the majority of people are, reluctant to talk about that. So obviously, that's what we're trying to address.
Yeah. No, very much. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's an interesting point, but there's a comment here. COVID hasn't helped mental illness due to the isolation, etc. Fingers crossed, BAFA can get behind this. The first point, yes, I agree with. I mean, I've at the end of my wits, even just because I've been in the house all week myself, and I know it's a small sample size, but I am at wits end. Tomorrow is my first day out in over 12, 13 days. So yeah, I can completely agree. But I'll point the finger there at, I'm happy to do so. Has BAFA been in touch with you, Wayne, at Lifting the Lid? Have they been in touch in terms of support at all, or?
No. That's a real quick answer to that question.
Yeah.
No.
Victor, what do you think? Should BAFA be in touch supporting this?
It's a bit of a shame that some of these things just become bandwagon, isn't it? So obviously everything that's going on that happened at the moment with obviously Black Lives Matter, everyone issued a statement, everyone got involved, everyone said, we're going to do this. Even like this thing with the school holidays and people's providing food for kids in the school holidays. Kids are hungry all the time. Like, if you're going to do something, don't scream and shout you're doing it now. Think of doing it and laying a foundation, setting the bottom line and being about the action. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, BAFA have got a massive responsibility, and they do need to either develop their own way of engaging with people and monitoring these kind of things within the sport, and possibly teaming up with people like Lifting the Lid and other people trying to make these initiatives something that's going to go on for a long time, not just a flash in the pan while people are talking about it. So yeah, they should definitely no doubt they've got policies in place, no doubt there's someone in charge of all that stuff. Because I remember I got a survey for diversity and inclusion from BAFA. I'm thinking to myself, wow, I've been ticking that box for all the years I've been playing, but this is the first time they've actually put a survey in action to try and monitor it and have results. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, like, you take your time. But it is what it is, man. Like, we got to try and obviously do our best to help those around us, but they have responsibility to their members, and yeah, definitely they should definitely get on.
They should. There's enough. Go on, Adam.
For me, I think it's hard to judge BAFA on what they've already done because there's been that many people replaced and like new guys coming on and stuff. Like, for me, everyone knows that tunes in the show. I'm not the type of guy that's going to just say to BAFA like, "Oh, good job, guys." Like, do you know what I mean? I'm the type of guy that says, "You've seen this as an issue now, so pull your finger out and get something sorted." Like, we're not going to judge you now, but you've seen this as an issue. Everyone's seen this as an issue now. What you're going to do from now on? So
yeah, I say it day in, day out at work. Mistakes happen, but it's how you rectify those mistakes and help.
Precisely.
Forward,
I mean, I've said this for years now. The BAFCA level 1 should include things like first aid training, welfare training. That should be part of your BAFCA level 1.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? If you've got coaches there that can help pick up on some of these things and be a support network, because a coach isn't just a coach. Do you know what I mean? He's there. Yeah, he's there to help you learn some new skills, but he's also there to help guide you and be there for you if you need something. He's part of your support network. So for me, that level 1 is a big step that I would love to see come into play, where we say, right, we're going to follow other sports where we put like some welfare guidance in there. We put some first aid training, things like that in. So for me, that's the step that BAFA and BAFCA need to take. Like, and I'd love that. For me, that would be them going, right, we haven't contacted anyone, but we realise in ourselves and we need to do something about this. Like that, for me, that's a major step forward if something like that could happen.
In their defence, in their defence in 2019, I know they brought in the position of welfare officer as a mandated position for senior teams. I've not really been involved in the British game at the senior level for like the last 2 years, so I'm not really sure what's happened or changed since then. But I know they did implement that, that mandated position.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do agree. I'm sure we will have. There's plenty of podcasts out there, which I was laughing my head off at one the other day. I was watching. What was it? X's and O's. Oh my god! Bam when he goes off on Maffa. I had to text Solenke straight away. I was just laughing. I was nearly sick laughing. So I'm sure there's other outlets what do bash Maffa for the right reasons. I think I think like this comment. I think Will's comment there. If mental health is not comments. Sorry, mate. Yeah. We can't be expected to provide support. Banks don't, and they have as much interest. No, I get that. It's kind of.
I completely disagree.
I would say if you're not. So football is like a game of chess, but the chess pieces are human beings with emotions and social lives and other things going on. You can't just move the piece and expect it to move. If it has no motivation, then obviously there's going to be a reluctance there. So you've got to understand that we're dealing with human beings here.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it like this, right? You're walking down the road, 2 cars collide into each other, crash, car's on fire. Just because you didn't do it, does that mean you don't have to help?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. You're going to run over. You're going to start helping as much as you can. That's all we're asking for. Just give them means to help.
And because we can't have. We've had previous podcast, whatever the bloody thing is, where we've talked about the youth development of the game, and people are growing up with this sport. Jason came on and quite rightfully said the best man at your wedding is sat next to you at training camp. You don't know it, and your best mates are developed in here. My 2 best men of my wedding, I played American football with both. My wedding got cancelled, but by the by. Do you know what I mean? So I know COVID and a cancelled wedding. No, but the point I'm making is you grow up with this sport now. Do you know what I mean? We're talking about going over to America, leaving family, friend, kin to go and play a sport in a different country, going to university. You're telling me the sport hasn't got a part to play in it. It absolutely has, because one of the things you get with American football, like no other sport, and I reticent to say this live, but for me it was always a sport of misfits. So you couldn't play other sports, you weren't good enough for anything else. Come and join this sport. But in that, you come together as a community, and there's no community like the British American football community. And I've been involved in other sporting communities. So I think that togetherness and BAFA being the spearhead of that, I think it absolutely has a part to play in it. And whilst I'm on my soapbox, coaches in particular have got a part to play in that. So any coach who hasn't, really should, because I think that's one of the overstated parts of coaching is the ability to drag somebody to the side and be that text message. I can't believe you just pulled up that comment, because he is one of the best coaches I've ever had for that. He will text me on a Tuesday afternoon, knowing I've been down at training the night before, just knowing by my persona, the fact that he can identify that and text me the next morning and go, Mike, are you okay? What's wrong? Might not know the most X's and O's in the world, but for a coach to do that, yes, coaches have just as big of a part to play for me as BAFA does and everyone does. you want to pull the comment up now? I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah, I'll put it back up. I'll let you read it out, Mike, just as you take a drink.
Football is an escapism. It can hide other issues. We have to look for people involved. We can do the sport. You've got me to read this because it's a long one, haven't you? We do the sport for the players, and they should be the focus. Bath can get behind, promote, encourage, be it through coaching, reffing, and promotion. Agreed.
I mean, for me, there's this one come up as well, right? So I can 100% tell you there's no way I'm listening to Baffa about my mental health. There's a country to understand mental health better, not Baffa's problem. Now, Will, this right? Let's turn this into the Adam show. So, Will, right? Yes, it is not Baffa's problem, and I get what you're saying. But Baffa can help other people that are in your close network, help recognize what's going on, and help, I don't know, give you an outlet, give you someone to talk to, help bring things to the table. Like, yes, Baffa don't have to go around knocking on people's doors. That's not what we're asking. But surely a little bit of education to help other people recognize things that's going on would help massively. Like, I'm not asking Baffa to say, You must do this. I'm coming to speak to you now. Lie down on the sofa. That's not what I'm asking Baffa to do.
We're asking you to reach out to somebody who's doing it for the community and Wayne and lifting the lid. It's not much, is it? I'm not saying just recognise it. Give them the platform they deserve. That I had to look at the Facebook page. You've got 3,500 people following it. People give a shit about this. How hard is it for people? Let's just say Pete drop a message to him and go, "Hi Wayne, thanks for all the hard work you've been doing. Is there anything we can do to share a bloody social media post so they can all follow it?"
Yeah, or even just make it part of that level 1. How many people do you know that's got a level 1 that aren't even part of the sport anymore? Do you know what I mean? So they, just because they've got that bit of knowledge, that then transcends to their family life. So it's not just about the sport, it's about the full community as a whole. It'll benefit thousands upon thousands of people just for us sticking in an extra hour, extra half hour, whatever it's going to be, onto a course that's already filled with fucking nothing. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry, but it's not.
No,
I mean, I feel like an interesting way to look at it is, I mean, if obviously we've got this, this, as I'm sure Mike's very much aware now, this COVID situation kicking off. Obviously, there have been things implemented relatively swiftly, because obviously it's concerning people's physical health. Yeah. So obviously, I don't think you can immediately disregard mental health. Because it doesn't play a part in physical health, because it's been, it surely plays a massive part in physical health. So it's just a matter of, understanding that, it is just, it's equally important as physical health, and it just gets overlooked because at the moment, society hasn't sort of caught up with the importance of it. And I think, we need to, as a community, we need to do that.
It needs to definitely move into coaches as a tool. Part of their arsenal, because some of the coaches spend more time with players than players will spend with their families. They spend with certain friends, and if they are able to watch over their players as they would if they were to have got a massive bruise on their arm or stuff like that, they can see that could be more than just, the player's put on weight because he's being lazy or he hasn't been to the gym for it. Getting onto someone for something so small that could potentially be so much bigger. Again, if you put that, you say an hour session on the signs of, an hour session on how to have a conversation with someone, and just being able to just be aware, like giving that awareness to the coaches that you're down with skills is pretty simple. And you say that the shockwaves and the lasting effect and the knock-on effect that will have is massive.
Yeah, I mean, for that exact reason. Oh, I apologise. Go on.
No, I was going to say, and I challenge every club to make sure they have a welfare officer and there's a designated team manager, and they know who they can drop a message to say, "I'm feeling a bit shit this week." It's not an excuse for underperforming. It's not an excuse for whatever it might be, but it's just for, how you feel. If you don't feel up to it, then our sport is very much a case of really getting your head into it. I've never known a sport where you have to. For me, I've said it over and over again, when I click on them, my mind changes. When I hear those 2 clicks, that's it. And I don't take off my lid because I'm a different person when I've got it on, so when I've got it off. But not everyone can have that separation. So we need to be actively seeking clubs to have the right people in place for that level of support at club level. And what we're asking for then of BAFA is to facilitate that and find a way to support that.
On that note of having that ripple effect, which Victor mentioned, it's for that reason that the money that we're currently pulling in for Lifting the Lid, it's the number one focus now for that money is to go towards a applied suicide intervention skills training course, which is going to be for coaches of American football to understand what sort of intervention steps they can take if they have a player who's dealing with suicidal ideation, which is a course I've been on myself, and I found it to be incredibly eye-opening. Very, very.
Roughly, just on that subject, how much is that sort of course?
Quite a bit. So we can get up to like 28 people on the course, and it's going to cost like $4,000.
Right.
So it's not cheap.
And that's $4,000 by like 28. Go on, Mike, do the maths. You're smart.
Yeah. Quick maths.
Yeah, something.
I think it worked.
$4,000 by 28. Yep.
About 80 quid each or something off the top of my head. I don't know.
Right, so,
a bit more.
I mean, and if BAFA, a national governing body, could strike a deal with these people, for example, of saying, we're going to put it in all of our courses, like that would bring the price really dramatically down.
All the unis, all the senior teams, that's a lot of people that will buy into that, make it do a project over about 3 years and work it as a little sponsorship thing. But it's an investment. It's an investment in the people that's paying your membership fees, mate.
I think that's the important way of looking at it. It's an investment in the people. And obviously, if you've got members within a community, then the members are the community, right?
One person, $4,000.
Yeah.
Like, come on, it's priceless. And on that note, I read something today. A 17-year-old ex-Ben City Youth Academy guy, he committed suicide because he got dropped at 17 years old. He thought he's
I've seen that. Yeah.
And it's just, you see that and you think to myself, what are City thinking? Like, obviously we don't know. I don't know the ins and outs on how it worked out and who was supporting him, who wasn't supporting him. But I know these teams will move families out of their area, buy them houses, and throw all these material things at them in the hope that they make it. That player gets an injury within a year or so. It's like, there's someone else they're throwing the money at, and it's crazy to think that some things are prioritized over these foundation things like mental health and the basics, but it is what it is, man. That's why we've got to try and
exactly. And not 2 weeks ago on the show, we was talking about that being the standard. So that's what I mean. If we want to push that as a standard, where we want people to, and I'm no disrespect to these, we want people to go to the NFL Academy. We want people to be going to, Filton. We want people to be going abroad. People going on exchange and stuff. How can we not have that level of support in place? I mean, they don't have it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, great point. Right, I think it's been great, but I think we have got quite an overview amount of people to bring on tonight to have a chat with.
Should we just get them all in?
Yeah, we can do. I think we've got most of them there. If you just want to bring them in, and then I'll do my best to introduce people. Last thing, whilst we're bringing people on, Wayne, what can we do? What can people be doing right now, just as a one call to action to get involved more? Is it follow the Facebook page? What do you want people to do, Wayne?
Increase awareness. Go look at the page, see what we're doing, and if nothing else, to start asking questions to friends. How are you doing? And literally mean. Have an actual meaning behind the question. How are you doing, as opposed to how you doing? Because it's a vapid greeting. It carries no content if it's just how you doing. This is why Time to Change had this ask twice campaign where ask how are you doing, and if the individual comes back with I'm fine, which is literally what this is about. I'm fine. Ask them again. No, seriously. How's everything going? How are you dealing with COVID at the moment? Just start conversation with genuine, sincere interest.
Exactly. So, no, thanks for that, Wayne. So the topic what we're going to discuss right now is mental health matters, just as a bit of a blanket topic here. But we have got different people from left to right. Obviously, we've all had a baby, I think, and we've grown in size here.
Yeah.
I'll go from the top left, the beautiful Mike Ireland in top left. Do you want to give yourself a quick introduction? You're on the hot seat. Shoot.
Smash. Yeah, just best place. Love it. Mike Ireland played Chester, played Halton, played Thunder and Herd, now playing for the mighty Razorbacks over in Belfast. Figured it was something a little bit different. Trying to get the Schmeider Cup rocking and rolling with Handsome Wayne for next year, because thanks, COVID.
Yeah, the COVID
ball. An awful lot.
Sorry, that's my fault. Sorry about that, Mike. No, thanks for joining us, Mike. Carl, do you want to give yourself a quick
Hi, guys.
A bit quick. Go on, Carl. Shoot. A friendly face in Britball and one that's easily recognisable. Go on, Carl.
Thanks, Michael. Yes, I do. I'm Carl Walkinshaw. I'm a coach with the NTU Renegades. I've been coaching for 12 years now. Played the game since 1988. Played GB level, coached at GB level, luckily enough, as assistant coach. Now I do on-site production stuff. But I'm here today really to support Wayne and lifting the lid, and also talk a little bit about my experience, my personal experience with mental health issues, and the work that I do with men around mental health, specifically around men's groups that I run, and that have been a real mainstay of my life. So it'd be interesting to get into that conversation, just talk about some of the ways that you can improve your mental health, because everyone has mental health. It's not just about poor mental health. It's around aspiration and inspiration as much as it's about ill health. And the other and I'm also a BAFCA educator, so I was interested in what you're saying about the BAFCA level 1. There is a set. Go on, Adam. Go on. No, there is a section within the BAFCA level 1 called Coaching Vulnerable People, which does touch on mental health issues. But obviously, like you said, the resources are limited and the time we have is limited. So as BAFCA educators, you have to just give the introduction. But we did support, BAFCA also supported Mind at the last virtual conference, which is the big mental health charity. So there is work going on. There could always be more to get stuck into. And it's definitely something which I know my colleagues at BAFCA would be interested in doing more on. So keep these conversations going and keep it moving, because I think the more we raise awareness through Wayne's work and everyone else's work, the bigger the impact will be on our whole community, which is what this is all about. So thanks for having me on.
No, and absolutely, perfect. They put us all right in our place, and for the right reasons. But if we don't know about it, maybe that's in part the problem. There's 4 people there who are pretty involved in BAFCA, and the fact that we potentially don't know about it might be the biggest problem. So thanks again, Carl, for coming on and sharing that straight away, and we'll definitely come back to that one. We'll go to the most friendly face of all here, Steve. Go give yourself a quick introduction, Steve.
One's the most friendly face. I'm Steve Price. I've been involved in playing football. I started in 1994 when I was 11 years old, so you can figure out how old I am now. And learned in the US, in Virginia.
I've got that on the bingo card. We can mark that one off there now.
Adam's jealous because his playing days were pathetic in comparison. But came back to the UK, played rugby, and then found American football. Joined the Farnham Knights in 2006. Right with them for a bit. And I did do one season with the Thrashers, and went back to the Knights. And then stopped playing. Well, haven't played for 2 years, and that sort of links into this mental health thing, actually. I think I don't have loads of strong views on it, but I've got a very unique story. I suppose that's probably why I'm here. I also run Gridiron Hub.
Never heard of it. Go on.
Yeah. It's a flash in the pan thing. It'll be gone soon. That's sort of been around. Well, actually, I'm probably on this mental health thing, which we'll probably get into. I used to run Gridiron Memes as well. So yeah, I can give you that unique view as well.
No,
that's
no, thanks for that, Steve. No, and that probably will be a talking point. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
And the final there, Ben, if you just unmute yourself. Thank you for being very patient there, but do you want to give yourself a quick introduction and?
So I'm Ben Lawson. I'm the youngest here. I'm willing to bet, given most of you started playing football before I was born. So making me feel quite old there. I played for Warwick Wolves. Bit of a newbie to American football. I only started playing in September last year. But I do a lot of activism, advocacy, big advocate for mental health, awareness and stigma elimination, particularly in young people, surrounding kind of talking about issues, talking about like speaking, asking how people are, asking twice, that kind of thing that Wayne was touching on earlier. I've been doing a lot of work recently with Wayne in our club, the Warwick Wolves, kind of trying to make more of expand it from just a sports team to a community, through which mental health becomes something people actively talk about rather than running away from. So yeah, that's basically me, and I'm just here to kind of share my story, my experience with mental health, how playing football's kind of come into that as well. Yeah.
Thanks. Cheers for that, Ben. Lovely. And I think actually this is a hosting error on my part.
It's Mike's fault.
Yeah, I introduced Victor as the top boy.
You lot said the friendliest face. I was actually offended. I was offended. I thought you was coming to me, and then you just jumped to Steve, and I'm just like, really? You're gonna judge me by top boy, yeah?
I know, yeah. Literally, that's how. Yeah, we got top boy on, and then we thought about top boy. Victor, sorry, that is my fault. It's because everyone knows who you are, Vic.
No, just for the people that don't know me. I've been 12, 13 years in an MPN next year. So I started in 2008, running around a park with the team as it reformed. Well, kind of Phoenix came back from, I think it was a year or so off. So I've been playing for 13 years. Done a bit of coaching there, bit of coaching for NFL UK and schools around North London. Also kind of just been in around the sport. Again, just from playing and coaching, and want to get involved in the coaching side as well, like full time when I finish playing, maybe do a bit of uni, a bit of senior. Mental health wise, I've been documented having a mental health kind of battle since I was about 18 years old. Went down a kind of GP doctor's route. Spent a little bit of time actually in mental health units on the voluntary section. But again, it's one of them things where someone mentioned it already. Everyone kind of suffers to an extent. Everyone tries to find their own coping mechanism to get with it. And for me, American football again is an amazing one. It is an amazing one. I got involved in the sport quite late. I was 23. I'd already been through uni. I'd already done kind of a lot of the stressful milestone things in life. But getting involved in the sport, meeting people, again, meeting those coaches that do send you the text message, that will pull you aside and just have a little word in your ear, that don't need to have the big take you to a long chat, but they say enough to know that you know that they know, and that you're there to kind of talk to. And you may not even go to them, but the fact that you've kind of had someone nicely kind of say, look, if you're going through things, it's cool, like, without even having to say it. You know what I mean? And that's what this sport can provide. When you're spending so much time with people and you're kind of getting to know them, if you're kind of given the tools to understand how complexly simple things can be, you can really help people out. And again, I'm trying to use my experience to kind of get out there and get involved in things. So yeah, thank you for having me on and let me introduce myself as more than just a criminal.
Cheers, Victor. No, thanks very much for that. You really, yeah. I mean, I like that we're all direct and honest here. We just put each other in each other's places. No, I do appreciate that. And Victor, if you ever consider doing some like tapes to help people get to sleep, your voice is the smoothest I've ever heard. And I'll buy.
There we go. ASMR. There we go.
Saying you're sending the sleep, Vic.
No, not
oh Jesus, here we go.
If he's paying, I'm playing, innit? It's all good.
Your Whitley rocks up in a Range Rover.
I'm not paying for next year's sub, Vic. Shall we go to? I know there's a guy just south of me. No, I'm joking. I'm not getting into that this week. If we are going to just shift now to some like kind of just if you guys are okay, I know a couple of years have came on to share your personal experiences and personal stories. I'll let Steve go first because of Gridiron Memes, of Gridiron Hub, and of who you are. And you said you've got an interesting story, so I really want to deep dive into that. And you'll be the most comfortable sharing, and I'm going to put you on the spot first. But
and if we don't let him go first, he'll just pull the plug on the show.
Yeah, I can't. I'll sign everyone out. I didn't think I'd be going first. So yeah, cheers for that. Yeah, so I'll try to keep it as brief as possible because I genuinely believe I could talk about this or be asked questions about it as well for hours because there's quite a lot to it. But so I think I consider myself quite emotionally resilient. That I can take things and I can like I was always very good in like emergency situations. Like I've helped, not that I caused them, but I've helped people out of car crashes a couple of times and really been very calm. You know, like I don't flap, and yeah, I can handle stress well and stuff. I think a lot of that's down to when I was younger. I still probably have it. I've got had ADD and ADHD, so I was put on Ritalin, and I went to a lot of therapy. So psychiatrists, psychologists, psychotherapists for a number of years. And then when I turned 16, I was old enough to decide for myself to stop that, so I did, and then tried to go like face life without any medication, which I have done. But it gave me a view, I suppose, on mental health that not many people had, which was I'm not afraid to talk about stuff because I've used to doing it. I remember advising my mum when I was about 19 to go and see a psychiatrist regularly if she could afford it because it's such a good thing. Like, but there's a huge stigma to it, right? And and I think there will be for years to come. But I remember she was going, well, there's nothing wrong with me. I didn't say there's nothing wrong with you, mum. Like, it's just like, it was almost like you only did those things if something was broken and still the same. But actually there's benefit of actually just talking to people, right? And if they're professional, all the more better. If you're in a position where you can afford it or whatever, then you know, you're one of the lucky ones. But then there's still those that can, that don't. You know, it's about taking that step. But yeah, so I've always been someone that's advocated for this stuff anyway. So my own personal story. So in June 2018, I woke up one morning and my daughter had passed away overnight. So she was 19 months old, and she wasn't ill. Well, she had no signs of illness. I'd spent the 2 previous days with her. Did very normal things. She acted in a very normal way. And she had meningitis, a form of meningitis. This meningitis has got 2 different types. There's like viral. I should know this stuff, shouldn't I? But there's 2 different types. And she had the type that actually isn't supposed to be deadly, but died from it. I can't remember which one it is. So yeah, that sort of evades me. Not that it really matters. You know, she's dead no matter what, right? But yeah, so we had to go. So at the same time that my daughter passed away, my Bex, my other half, was with me in the house. She heard me discover her, and then came running in, or tried to. She was 36 weeks pregnant with our second child, who was born 12 days later. So there was a point in time in all of this where we thought we'd lost him as well because of the trauma. So my current mental state is there's 2 elements to it. One is dealing with the grief of losing a child and the impact of that. And there's lots of things to that, right? But that is so I've been diagnosed with. So I have gone and got help or tried to start the process. Coronavirus has played into that as well, which I'll explain in a sec. So I've been diagnosed with severe grief, and also for the trauma side of it. So the shock, the adrenaline, like I don't know. I don't think you need to be a parent. I think, although those who are parents seem to be a lot more impacted by me telling this story, because it's almost like every parent's worst nightmare when they've got a young child is finding that child has passed away. So it's sort of, it's almost like this thing in the back of their head that they think about and they don't ever want to come true. And, I'm living proof that it unfortunately can happen. So for that, for the trauma side of it, which it was extremely traumatic, and I won't go into loads of detail, but so I found my daughter and I tried to resuscitate her. So I tried to give her CPR, but she died, they believe, around 2 a.m. So it was a completely futile effort. So I'm trying not to go into too much detail, but so she was already well gone, if you like, and there were signs of her body that said that, but I had that hope in my head that she was going to be okay. And then even when I knew she was dead the whole time, but even I didn't give up that hope until we got to the hospital, which the ambulance came and the police came as well, because it was a child death at the same time. Everyone was great. Whenever I say to people that the police were there, my house got listed, I don't know, labeled as a crime scene. And people react strongly to that, but it doesn't bother me, because I'm like, well, I wasn't even there. I was at the hospital, and I want to know why my daughter's dead, so it's none of that ever bothered me. So I suppose that was that to deal with as well. But so because of that part of the story, not just the loss, but the way, I've also got PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder. So severe grief and PTSD. Now, PTSD and severe grief are dealt with in a very similar way, which I suppose is lucky. I don't know. I don't really know. That's just how it is. And I'm currently waiting for therapy called cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. Never had heard of it. Other people who I've said it to since have heard of it. Apparently, children with autism tend to go through it. I don't really know what to expect with it. I did read a little bit of it, but then I don't really want to go with a preconceived idea. I want to just do it. So it was early this year, beginning of this year, that I got that diagnosis. So almost 2 years after my daughter passed away. And I was on a waiting list to start the CBT. I did get contacted and they said, do you want to, can we do it by video? And I was like, I would rather not. And then the woman got me to sort of explain a little bit of what I've explained to you guys. And she was like, oh, you definitely need to be face-to-face for yours. Then they stopped doing face-to-face therapy. So I need to wait for face-to-face therapy to start up. And then I imagine there's a backlog, as there is with most things at the moment, that have stopped. And then I'll be able to start again. So I suppose there's a couple of, there's one thing in there I suppose that stands out is, why did I wait so long? I knew from the day my daughter passed away that I would need therapy, and I was open to that. Like I said, because of my previous experiences, I assume. And I remember we spoke about it. So our local doctor actually called me on my mobile, and he gave me his mobile number, and he was like, if you need anything, just call me. He asked if we want to be medicated, and we said no. Or I said no because he was like, just to help you sleep or whatever. And I was like, I don't. I had this weird thing about, because it happened when I was asleep, I didn't want to take things that made me sleep deeper, or it was a bit of a weird thing. So we didn't medicate or anything after it. I'm now on medication now while I'm waiting for the therapy, which is called sertraline, which is for PTSD, but also people with depression get given it as well. That seems to be working okay. Let me get back to that point about the reason I think I waited so long was that this was obviously a devastating thing to happen, and not just to me, obviously, but to my family and friends. And one of the most, I think the most impacted people, or the most impacted people outside of me and Bex, the parents, were the grandparents. So my parents and Bex's parents in particular, our mothers. So my mum really didn't take it well. Really struggled with it for months. In my mind, it was like, I want to make sure everyone else is okay before I look after myself. And so that's why I think it took so long. I needed to wait until a certain point before I then went and got my own help. And rightly or wrongly, that's what I did by design. Like, I knew that's what I was going to do. But yeah, and then so it was a bit weird because I was hoping to sort of, at this point in my life now, 10 months since I got the diagnosis, to be recovered, to be some way better to where I am now. But because, another knock-on effect from coronavirus has been that some of these services, are not available to people at the moment, particularly face-to-face stuff like the therapy that I'm looking for or waiting for. So yeah, that's
Steve.
So sorry if I've given patchy information there. So ask me questions if there's stuff that doesn't connect.
Can I just ask what it was, or what caused you to then go and get the help? So you said you were waiting for something. So
I knew I needed to. So do you know what? I actually tried to get. So I signed off. So it's funny. I started. That's funny. I need to be careful how I choose my words. But I started a job on June 1st that year with Oracle, a big IT company, and my daughter passed away on June 10th. So I'd only been in a job just over a week. Done my first full week. Most of that time I spent in London training, and I then immediately had. They just, like I said, take as much time off as you need. But I felt like I needed to go back because I hadn't even started my job. So while I was off, I thought, I can start the therapy now. So I did start speaking. I spoke to the doctor, Dr. Carde, and he said, no, it's too soon. He said it's like, and he explained it extremely well to me. He said, so imagine you had a severe injury, like let's say someone done their ACL or someone did or cut your skin or whatever. He said you need to wait for it to scar before you can then remove the scar tissue. He said you can't. He said it's still an open wound that you need to wait for it to close before you can then take the next step. And I said, how long is that? And he said I don't know, but maybe 6 to 9 months. He said that he said no more than a year really. But he said it's up to you, So that was why I didn't get that immediate. Well, I did go for immediate help, but I was knocked back because they said it's just too soon.
Can I just say, if I can, I've got a lot of admiration for you there, Steve. If I can get my words out, as somebody who's got a child myself, I mean, it's just unbelievable, mate. So the fact that you've been through that and can talk about it is, pretty good. But I'm going to go on mute before I cry. So
yeah. And that's a good point. So I'm keenly aware that I'm able to talk about it, and so I don't know if you guys know about my work life. So I work in learning and development. I'm used to stood up in front of people talking, helping people out. Like that's what I do, coaching, all that sort of stuff. And I'm very good at articulating the way I think, the way I feel, how I react to stuff. I'm very good at saying this is what I immediately think about something. Some people need to go away and think, and so I feel that I've got a skill set that I'm able to communicate well, essentially. And part of my, and this is another I developed several coping mechanisms, and maybe that's another topic we need to get to at some point. But I developed a number of coping mechanisms. So did Bex, to deal with it. And one of them is that I will talk about this with sort of anyone, and I will use the skill that I've got in communication to be able to do that. When it first happened, the first couple of weeks, and I was explaining to people just the stuff that I spoke to you. I found her, I tried to resuscitate her, probably a bit more detail. I was in floods of tears, but you sort of do it again and again and again. And what usually sets me off now, because I still cry about it, right? But it's other people crying because I've told them it, and then I start getting upset too. But I can. I've got to the stage where I can pretty much talk about all of it and sort of maintain some level of decorum. But I see that as I need to utilize that to help people. I want to help others who have gone through something similar, or or even those that haven't, that are around someone who's going through something like that. Like I want to speak to. I've got a friend that's doing. He's becoming a doctor, and I said to him, "Is there a chance that I could speak to like students to say, like, this is how I felt when I was in the hospital that day. This is how I acted, and these are the things that were going through my head, just so that they're a little bit better prepared of when they do inevitably deal with a death." And not to say that I was typical, I could be atypical, I don't know. It wasn't a death I was expecting. It was extremely sad. The doctor that had to announce my daughter was called Amelie, that had to announce she was dead, was in floods of tears. Like, it was extremely tough for a lot of people, and it continues to be, right? And yeah, I'm able to hold it together and talk about it. I think about her every day. I don't feel that like people always say it gets easier when you lose someone. It hasn't for me. My daughter has missed her just as much. But what has got easier is the trauma side of it. Like that trauma's died down. The adrenaline's dropped. Like all of that initial shock, all of that's gone away and drained away now. And I'm now just left with the fact that I don't have my daughter here. So it's So. But yeah, so the timing of this is impeccable. It would have been her 4th birthday yesterday, and she's got a tree that we put up in a cemetery. So I went and took some flowers there. People obviously messaging me non-stop throughout. Obviously that's what happened throughout the day, And what I find now, and what I found then, especially then at the time, was that I support people as much as they support me. It's like a reciprocated thing. Like, we had people turning up at our door in the few days after Amelie passed away to give her their condolences and talk to us and give us flowers and all that sort of stuff. And we'd answer the door, and they'd be in floods of tears before we even opened the door. And without exception, every single one of them left with a smile on their face, and like in a better mood. And that was sort of like what, again, a coping mechanism. That was something that I focused on to try and help deal with it all. Was like, oh, that's what I can do. I've got all the information, and these people need it, so I'll make sure I give it to them. And yeah, so like that's, like I said, that comes back to that communication thing. It's, for me, it's another way of me dealing with it, because I know I can do that.
I remember when obviously we were been like friends for a while now, Steve, and I remember you put it on Facebook for your family and friends to know what had happened. And I remember I sat on my phone, and I text out a message, and I must have deleted it like fucking like 15, 20 times, because I just didn't know what to say, man. Like,
yeah. Do you know what? It's funny. A lot of people said that to me. And eventually, I had to do it recently. My uncle died, and I had to message my auntie, and I couldn't do it. I was like, "Oh, this is what it's like." Fuck me. I really struggled.
I eventually managed to send a message, and you were like, "Oh, thanks, mate. I'll get in touch." I mean, the last thing that we were talking about was when you were saying it was you'd start a new job, and we were taking the piss on how much you were paying for parking at the time.
Yeah.
And then that was the next.
Yeah, for the training.
More money than sense.
Yeah. And like you sent a message in, I think it was like a group chat or something I had at the time. It was like 195 quid for parking. We were ripping the shit on how much a parking was.
It was in Shoreditch in London. It was just stupid. Yeah.
And I think we had the same conversation, mate. Like when we first spoke.
I think I told everyone bit.
Nah, the second sentence was you telling me the news that obviously your daughter just passed. Like I've got a son that's a very similar age, and like you was talking about it with such composure. I was thinking, when is this guy gonna like start breaking into tears? But clearly you'd gone through something in yourself that had made you kind of think, all right, boom, 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 boom. These are the things that's gonna happen. They're gonna happen, but I'll deal with them as and when I deal with them. Do you know what I mean? And I think we don't really know that we're broken till we break. I think that's one of the things. And when we do, for me, I've been there. I've been there broken. Like I say broken a few times. I've got to the point where I know I've had to say, all right, cool, stop. got to start something again. But to hear you obviously talk to me, like have a normal conversation, you was perfectly articulate. First time we ever spoke, but you just dropped that bombshell in there, and I was like, raw. Like I think I'm gonna have to take a moment after this. But like you're a G for managing that, man. Like seriously, I
I
think
suppose that's.
definitely share your story to as many people that want to listen because
I
it's
think
very
that
unique.
comes.
Do you know what I mean?
Does everyone agree, especially anyone who's got kids, agree that as a dad and almost as a man, you have to learn to compartmentalize your own thoughts, your own opinions, and sacrifice yourself a lot of the times for your own family, don't you? So I think, Steve, and I think sometimes, like you said there, the more you talk about things, the more you can personally humorize it, desensitize that for yourself, makes it easier to tell that story. And then, like you said, I know what it's like for me. I could probably do that for myself, but then as soon as someone actually says to me, "Are you actually okay?" That'd kill me. Do you know what I mean? It's someone who you care and know and love about.
Yeah,
Or when you see them crying, every time I see my mum crying, even if she's stubbed her toe, I'm the same. Like gone straight away. Can't deal with it. But I think that's fair play for you.
Yeah,
the
and
way
you know what? And
tell that,
sometimes, there's sometimes I've been doing it, and then someone's asked me a question that no one's asked me before, and then that set me off because it's new content to me. Like I need to now say this thing I've not said before, and that'll set me off. And I'll still like talk through my tears and go through it. But yeah, like it's the I think it is the the practice of it. But part of the coping mechanisms are massive for me, and I think they're going to be quite big in mental health moving forward, particularly in the sport. But so just to give you an idea of what I mean by that, so a couple of the coping mechanisms that me and Bex, one that we both employed, but one that I employed just solely. The one that we both employed was that we would look for positives out of the death of our daughter. It's a really probably quite a juxtaposition to hear that. Like people think, what do you mean? Well, so things like so whenever we looked back at it and analysed it or looked about the impact it's had, try and look at, oh well, that was a good thing, that was good, or it could have been worse. And you think, well, how could it have been worse? Well, it could have been worse because I was in London for 4 days, and what if Bex had found her on a Wednesday night? What if it had happened then? What if it had happened then and I didn't get the 2 days with her that I had before she passed away on that night? What if she'd have been awake? What if she didn't pass away in her sleep peacefully? What if she'd been awake and been in pain? Like what if it had been a terminal illness and we knew she was going to die and it was like a sentence she was given? And I know a lot of people go through that, but like for us, we would have like it and this is how we look at it. We're like we're glad it was that way. So there's all these, and then there's obviously the positive impact. So we created the Amelie Fund, and I assume a number of you have heard of it. That was linked to one thing we wanted to do with Amelie when she was here was so Bex and I earn good money without sounding like a twat, right? And so she has things that not every kid gets, right? Like like bed, toys, anything she wanted, she had. And we didn't want her to grow up spoiled. So Bex had this idea that when she got older and she started to outgrow her toys, that we would make her give them away to children that were more less privileged or whatever. And I don't know what that would have looked like, but we never got to do that because she passed away before we had a chance to do it. So one of the reasons we created the Amelie Fund was that we would now give away money in her name, almost like as a tribute to that. Like we didn't get to do it when she's alive, but we can do it now she's dead. And we can continue to do it for a long time. So that was the reason we set it up. So that's a coping mechanism we both had, was the positive thing, like look at the positive side of it. And then the other one, which is exclusive to me, was I don't pretend she didn't live. And that sounds weird, but like there's been instances where socially it would have been the right thing to just I suppose pretend she didn't live. So let me give you an example. So I'm at work and someone says to me, have you got any kids? I'll say, yes, I've now got 2 boys. I had another son born. I'll say, yeah, I've got 2 boys. Now, unbeknownst to that person, they could have rephrased that same question in their mind and said it a different way, and they could have said something like, "Oh, how many kids have you had?" And I would say, "I've had 3." And then the natural follow-on from that is, "Oh, how old are they?" Or, you know, you start to talk about them, and inevitably it will come up, "Oh, I had a daughter and she passed away." And so sometimes that situation, like saying a work situation, or if it's just like in passing with someone, it's, you know, you're better off, if you like, just pretending you got the 2 boys and that you never had your daughter. But again, a coping mechanism for me is I refuse to do that, and I will always say that she existed to whoever I need to, and I sort of warn people, like I don't try and be dramatic with it or anything, but I couldn't live with myself if I pretended that she didn't exist. So that's a coping mechanism I've got as well. So yeah, and that one's like I deal with the consequences after it, but I will say it, but again, it depends on the questions. Because if someone says, "Oh, have you got any kids?" I'll say, yeah, I've got 2 boys. And if they said, "How many kids have you had?" I've had 3. And but it's literally, and to you guys, it's probably the same question, right? But for me, it's a completely different question, and it gets a very different answer from me. But anyway, yeah.
No, thanks for that, Steve. That's absolutely unreal. No, thanks very much.
Just on a football point. So obviously, this is an American football show. So I was playing football at the time when my daughter passed away, and I stopped, and I haven't gone back since. I plan to go back this coming season if there is one. So
awesome, dude.
And the only question I have with that there, then, Steve, do you think, did you take that time away, and now do you think it'll help you at all going back to that sport? Or
massively. So I as you know, I played American football most of my life, and I see it as a physical sports I need. I think because of my ADHD, I need to have a release. I need to do stuff. Active, so, and I always found that after games I was like in the most chilled out zone ever, like no one can bother me today. I used to joke with one of my ex-misses, like, if you come to the game, make sure you're not there at the end, because I'll probably propose to you, I was always in a good mood. I know that I'm going to feel great when I play again. It's going to be quite emotional for me. I play with a lot of emotion anyway, but the thing that's going to be quite emotional for me, I know, is that this is, again, another thing that I think of. My daughter never saw me play American football. She never came to a game. She's too young. And now when I next play, so I believe my daughter can see me. I think she's in heaven and she can see me. And this will be the first time she's ever been able to watch me play when I start playing again. So that's going to be quite an emotion, because I know that's going to be running through my head. Yeah. So I think I'm going to be a bit of an emotional wreck that day, but I'll get through it, So, yeah.
No, I mean, anytime you need anyone to chat to, I know I'm always there. Anyone, I'm sure, is vice versa in terms of if anyone needs to, I'm sure, Steve, anyone's been through something similar and wants to reach out.
Yeah, well, if anyone wants to speak to me about it as well,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
I appreciate the support, because the support network I've got is ridiculous. So there's hundreds of people that have said anytime, that same message, and I genuinely believe it. I've seen the best in humans. The compassion I've dealt with, I've had to, and it's the compassion that usually makes me well up, because that's the thing that I probably not used to in my life, and I think I've seen the best in people, and so I'm not at a loss for that, but I know other people might need my help, and I'm more than willing to do so. So yeah. But sorry, I know I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Mike. But yeah.
No, interrupt away. Don't worry about that, mate. A comment there. She will absolutely be watching and cheering you on, just like my son's dad. So yeah. So I'm going to move on. Dare I say? Sorry about that, Steve. I could sit and talk.
You could talk for a long time about this subject. But
I am aware we've got 3 other guests on here. I've came on as well to share their story. Mike, are you good to talk? I know we've all been quiet for a while.
Yeah,
Mike, do you want to obviously it doesn't have to be Sorry to get you to follow that there, but everyone's got their own individual story in their own individual way. Again, Steve, thanks for sharing. But Mike, do you want to just talk us through your experiences? Sorry, my hand's in my mouth. Sorry, I know it's unprofessional. And just have a little chat with us.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not a dad. I'm not anything like that. But I see it from the other side. I'm a Bobby. So I've seen all that other stuff, and normally you think you can leave it in work, you can leave it behind, it's just not a thing. But in my previous relationship where there was no fun, you start bringing it home, and you don't realise it until I woke up in the morning and thought, "Ooh, that doesn't feel nice. That's pretty terrible." And everything that I've done for however many years I've been in the police came and just slapped me in the face, and you go, "Well, can't get out of bed today," and you realise I can't get out of bed tomorrow or the day after, and you make excuses for everything. And that's basically where you get up to, and you're thinking, with regard to anything, my side of it was depression. That's when you mentioned sertraline. I was like, I recognize all that. The cognitive behavioral therapy, remember that, recognize that. But my sort of like coping mechanism, because you get to a point of what's the point? It's all crap. What's the point? But you have to sort of like you have to go to work, you have to earn money, you have to do all this. So you just kind of trudge through it, and you end up being a bit of a zombie. My thing was, if I had football, if I had something on a Sunday to look forward to, it wasn't so crap. So my thing was, you kind of go, right, okay, I'm going to trudge my way through this. It was a nightmare. You're going into work and you're still dealing with all this sort of stuff. But something to look forward to on Sunday, a bit of a run around with mates. You don't need to tell them what you're going through. You don't need to tell them how everything is. But you're thinking, my life's a bit crap and everything's it's a bit of a nightmare. But between 1 and 4 on a Sunday, it's not so bad, and that's it. And so that was my past, and you just kind of push through it. And then of course I've been bimbling about with other bits and pieces, trying to make other things happen, and then hooked up with Handsome Wayne to sort out this Schmider Cup, because I figured if one of my things was talking to people and getting out there and putting speaking to other folk, if I could create something for someone else to look forward to, it might help somebody and hopefully raise a few quid for Wayne's charity as well. And that's kind of the tall and short of it. I don't really know quite how else to structure it, to be fair. And that's it.
No, I mean that's spot on, mate. Like, for me, obviously, your job is obviously massively affected how you go about your daily life, so to speak, and that all of us being guys that have played the sport, well, me not so much, I've been their coach, but for having like an outlet is like a big deal for me. Like, I've things in my background, and you know what it is, like just having like a shit day at work and then going, right, it's nearly Friday, I've got something to focus on now. Like, is that your, like, is that what you've channeled it on? Like, it's been a shit week, I get to go kick the shit out of someone now the weekend. Is that everyone's way to do it? Do you know what I mean? Is that
kind of? And you're at the like kind of the worst job that you can think of. You're trying to deal with something that you really don't want to be there, but at the back of your mind you're thinking, yeah, but whatever day we're on, I'm only X number of days away from Sunday and seeing my pals. And you can kind of think, this is terrible. And even, I'm not just talking like in work, I'm talking about being at home. You're doing something, you can't get out of bed, but you're thinking, in a couple of days I'll be able to do this. I don't know, Steve, I don't know what how you're coping with like the sertraline. I went on to other bits and pieces, and I couldn't. It didn't work for me. I felt more like a robot, more like a zombie, and I couldn't process anything. I couldn't deal with anything, and all that was happening is things were stacking up, and it was making it worse for me. And you know, it's one of those. It's a bit of a cliche, but the one person that pulled me out is, you know, she's through there. The current and she just sat me down and I know something's wrong. I've known you for long enough. Talk to me, and you go, wow, okay. And we wrote stuff down. We got everything sorted out, and it wasn't fun. It was it was grim to have to face up to a lot of things. But again, you think stuff it, get it through, and then Monday have some football. It's all right, and
It's worse.
Yeah, so that's.
I always find it's worse because they look at you, don't they, Mike? And they know you know they know, and then you also have to admit that they're right, which is the biggest problem of all. Isn't it?
So, Mike, you said. Sorry, mate.
Go on, Wayne.
Mike, you were saying that. So you were saying that for yourself, the sertraline didn't help, or at least not enough. But you say you wrote stuff down. Can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, basically, kind of. If you just think of everything the way I did it was everything was a task, everything was a thing. Though, so when you achieve something, even if it is get out of bed, you can tick it off, and it's a win. It's a bonus. You've done something. So you say, well, I've got out of bed. I've got myself dressed. I've brushed my teeth. That's you can't hang on to those little mini wins. And when you kind of put them together, you go, oh, I've gone to work. Super duper. I've done something. I've achieved something. And that to me was massive because all that sertraline was doing is I did nothing. I couldn't achieve anything. You just think, what was the point? And that was the kind of the big thing for me. Is you kind of everything slid, and it was a horrible place to be. It wasn't fun. So there you go.
I can't imagine. Like, obviously, I've never had like this sort of situation myself. That's why I'm like engrossed in all your guys' stories here and trying to figure out myself, like trying to wrap my brain around like if I see something at training or if I see one of my mates down the street, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I need to know what I can do. And don't get me wrong, I know I'm preaching at the start, like I would love some more education on this. Like, for me, I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't know what to do, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna be there saying I know how I'm gonna handle it, but I've been in tears listening to everyone's stories here, and I don't know what to say. Do you know what I mean? I feel like a twat sat here not knowing what to say.
That's the bit is I don't know, for myself, folk who've had depression, all that sort of stuff, you put on such a good act, you put on such a good mask that everyone goes, I just like you say, ask twice, how are you? And you got to think you've got to be, the biggest, the strongest, Mr. Bravado. And you go, I'm sound, mate, yeah, smashing. Everything's gone to shit. You're thinking, what's the point? Well, I can't be bothered with anything. And there's, I'm in a proper black hole and there's nothing. But I can't see any way out of this. And this is unfortunately where a lot of people are. And they go a little bit further down and things happen that you see. But if you just say, you can sort of tell because someone does something a little bit differently, and you can, even in the age of like text messages now, how are you? What have you been up to? And that was a big one for me. What have you been up to? And when someone says nothing, and you say, that's not right. How's work? Not been going. How's football? Not been going. How's the gym? Not been going. You're like, right, okay, we need to have a chat and just get onto and just take it by the bollocks and say, right, what's going on? Write down your problems. It worked for me, it might not work for everyone else, but it's something. And give them a little mini win to hang on to. And once you've got that mini win, stack it up with other little mini wins, and you kind of you'll never be out of it. It's a chemical problem in folks' brains. You never just say, "Oh right, you're cured, sorted." But if you kind of you give someone to focus on, something to look forward to, which is why this COVID situation is a bit of a nightmare for folk because you can't see the end of it because they keep pushing it. You're in lockdown again. No, you're not. Yes, you are. You're in lockdown. You can't see an end, And that's what's making it hard for a lot of people at the moment. And that's why I say, just give them a little message and say, what are you up to? How's it treating you? And just prod a little bit harder and vocal. Ultimately, in the end, they'll either say, I'm fine, be alone, or they'll say, actually, I'm struggling. And if they say, actually, I'm struggling, a lot of folk will say, talk to me about the problems. And once they've got it off the chest, then you can say, so what are you going to do? What's the plan? Help them through that. And that will go so far to helping people.
That
I think as well.
Your little quote there on mini wins and little wins. I'd love that. I love that.
Another thing I would add as well, my nan used to say this to me, and it's one of the oldest ones in the book, but if anyone ever does reach out and it's that just, you have got 2 ears and 1 mouth, like use them to that proportion. Like sometimes saying nothing can say everything to somebody. Just allowing them that time to talk and not interrupting them, not just venting your own stuff and just genuinely shutting up and listening. It's my biggest weakness, actually, is I talk too much. Sometimes the power of just shutting up can get someone to open up that much more as well.
Is if you're in a deep dark hole and you can't dig yourself out, having someone just talking at you, and then you can sit and you go, "Wow, someone wants to take the time to speak to me." That's mega as well, because everyone means something to somebody. Everyone matters, and that's what we've done that in the Schneider sort of advertisements. You matter, you mean something to somebody, so let somebody help you out.
I think what's really important to highlight here is, as you say, being able to share and stuff is, particularly helpful for certain individuals, and I imagine the vast majority of people. And I think Carl will be able to talk more about this later, but obviously every individual is going to be, requiring their own things. So some individuals may just need to sit there. You don't need to necessarily talk to that person, just that person sitting there with you, just knowing that you are there, even though you're not necessarily providing any sort of information or help, so to speak. The fact that you're there alone, says enough. You know what I mean? It all depends about on that individual.
You don't need to be qualified.
Yeah, precisely.
I mean, would something go along the lines of? Sorry, mate. What were you saying there?
No. Just with Wayne ACV, you don't need to go into anything. Just talk about it. People will really be happy with that.
So, would something help if we if we set something up where we could, I don't know, get everyone together once a month or something, just to come on, just chat, see how things are going, sort of thing. Do you do that, or is that something we could do? I think that's a cracking idea.
Definitely,
And it's funny you mention that because Carl and I had a conversation recently regarding exactly that topic. I don't know whether Carl wants to talk briefly on that.
Yeah, I can say a bit about that. I can tell my own personal story as well a little bit. I mean, my dad took his own life when I was 3, so he died when he was 28. He was he was a really successful guy on the outside, but he had his own demons, and so I was brought up single parent family with me and my brother. And American football, I say, saved my life. When I got into American football age about 15 years old, didn't have any male role models around that were any good, really. And so when I got into the structure of American football, it really was a life-saving for me in terms of giving me a platform where I could actually perform and do well. Up to that point, I'd been involved in crime and was going down a bad path, and the structure that provided me as a boy growing up was really important to me. And since then, I've gone on to study psychology, philosophy, and now I run men's groups, which is what Wayne was talking about. So I would say that sport is a huge benefit to boys and men, especially. And that's where my particular interest lies. I know it impacts women and girls as well. But, the suicide rate is 4 times higher amongst men. It's the number 1 killer, as probably all of you know, between the ages of kind of 24 and up to about 47. The number 1 killer is is suicide amongst men, more than anything else. So mental health is a big issue for boys and men. And so what I would say is that just men talking about these issues. So I want to just acknowledge Steve for his share, first of all, and Mike. I mean, it's just immense. It does immense good that men share most vulnerably, the circumstances of their lives and where they are. Because I think what we're overcoming is many, many years of conditioning as guys that we don't do that. And we're still in that process. So you've had women coming out supporting each other and those sorts of things, and men have to go through a very similar process right now. We're not quite there yet. And so what I'm about really is creating safe spaces where men can come together and share on the sort of level that Steve did or Mike did, where they can sit together in a safe container and come out and really talk about what's going on for them in their lives, whether it's a relationship breakup, whether it's, the loss of a child or their own illness, or they have a physical problem or whatever it is. And sometimes we meet and everything's going great in a man's life, and that's fantastic. We just sit around and celebrate him and acknowledge him. But the point is that men coming together in these groups, supporting each other in this way, makes a massive difference. A lot of us will do the kind of surface level conversations. So we'll go down the pub and we will sort of look out for each other. But then we'll say, well, he's got an issue, so he needs to go and get help somewhere. And sometimes that's not the answer. Like, it's not at the acute end of mental health. It's just about a guy feeling isolated. If you think about a guy that has an American football injury, for instance, he's isolated. He's at home. He's going to get depressed. Like, people get depressed when they get isolated. It's not hard. COVID's the same. If you have a relationship breakdown and you've been reliant on that person in your life, because that person was the only person you were connecting to, then you're going to feel lonely, and that causes depression and sadness. So it's like normalizing the conversation, and it's not about the acute end. It's about, we all will go through at some point darker days in our lives. So let's create safe spaces where guys, specifically I'm talking about, but it could be women as well, can meet and discuss and talk. So every week I get together with a group of 10 guys and I lead a men's group where we talk about how our week's gone, what's happened in the week, what's come up. We do check-ins, we do breathing exercises, we do a little bit of meditation, we get into a nice state, and we share with each other on a deeper level than you would. And it makes a massive difference to a man's life. Over time, that sort of container can really skyrocket a man into, success, more success than maybe he's had. Because if you have a mental health issue and you're not talking to anyone about it, you will get to a point, and sometimes it's quite late on in life. Like I'm 47, so I'm coming up to a point where I'm still impacted by issues from my childhood, but ignored them for years. And then suddenly they come up. It's like in a relationship, you suddenly you have a rage or something, and you realize, oh shit, that's some pocket of trauma that I was carrying around since I was 3 because I got abandoned. It's like they come up in your life. And so it's not like you fix them and they're all done, thanks very much. It's like the ongoing support of a group of guys is what really makes the difference. And this is what we need to normalize. I had a question for Steve actually about how he felt that he was supported, but it sounds like he was. But I think sometimes with guys that haven't got your skills, Steve, or your communication skills or your understanding, they'll withdraw rather than go out and seek support. So it's like the normalizing of support and these discussions is really what I'm all about. So really valued the conversation, and I hope we get to do a bit more work with Wayne. But your idea, Adam, of getting together as a group, even doing it online and sharing it like this, is just a fantastic one. Obviously, there's some things you don't want to share publicly, but so a private container is the way to go for some stuff. But it's like a lot of it can be talked about openly, and a lot of it people will identify with, as you can see from the comments that are coming up from people. So it's good stuff.
On a similar note, Ben and I have been working together with the Warwick Wolves to build a similar container as you've described there. And obviously, as I've mentioned, we're looking to do this for the wider community moving forward. But I don't know whether Ben wants to talk about what we've been doing at Warwick, and it's obviously his story.
Yeah, I'll talk about if Carly, you kind of finished with your
Yeah, brother, you go ahead.
Yes, so I'll kind of start with kind of who I am, my story, and then I'll go into kind of this project Wayne and I started over the summer. So yeah, I'm Ben. I'm 19. I've been diagnosed with severe depression, anxiety, and body dysmorphia. The symptoms of which I've been exhibiting since about the age of 9 or 10. But I didn't get an official diagnosis till I was 18. Because I was scared to tell people about it, and I thought that when I was 18, I could have some level of independence where I could tell who I wanted, but it wasn't something that people needed to be told. So, as Steve and Mike will also talk about, sertraline is something I'm very familiar with. Currently, the medication I'm taking, and I've done some courses in CBT in the past as well. So yeah, my kind of mental health story with kind of mental health kind of reached its peak 3 or 4 years ago now, where I began kind of self-harming to the extent that it became an addiction of mine, because this was before I started talking to anyone. So I was kind of the peak example of what happens when people don't talk about their problems. So there was a time I couldn't go more than 10 minutes without feeling some kind of pain, which is something I would never wish on anyone. For me at the time, it was the only way I could think about coping with what was going on in my head and kind of the thoughts I was having and stuff. And then that eventually led to 10th of October 2018, which some of you may know as World Mental Health Day, when I attempted suicide, which is something I've only recently started kind of talking about more. And yeah, before I even came to Warwick and started playing American football, I'd kind of found a bit of a community of people I could talk to within a sport, in that I played water polo. And so for those who don't know, it's kind of a very brutish Eastern European sport where people don't wear very much. And so unlike in my day-to-day life where I could put on a hoodie and say everything was fine and just say I was a bit cold, even if it was 35 degrees in the summer, I was then at my most vulnerable because everything I had done to myself was on show. And people who I thought were just my teammates and I'd never see, apart from when I was training with them or playing match with them, then came up to me and said, look, what's going on? Something's clearly not right here. And I started talking to them a bit, started talking to my friends, kind of opening up a bit more about what I was going through. And the day, October the 10th, 2018, so that day before I made an attempt on my life, I'd secured an event at my school to talk about mental health. And I'd basically gone to like the head teachers and said, look, I don't care what's going on. This year is Children's Mental Health Week, we're doing an event. And they said, okay, free reign. And so I then dedicated that event and what has now become a large portion of my life to telling my story, raising awareness for mental health, particularly in young people and young men, trying to eliminate the stigma surrounding kind of have a stiff upper lip. It's not okay to talk about stuff. And I've recently adopted the mantra that vulnerability is the highest form of strength, which is something I'm trying to push more and more in this project I'm doing with Wayne, which I'll come on to in a couple of minutes. So yeah, that's kind of my experience with mental health. And that then came kind of more pertinent to me April of this year when I lost one of my closest friends to suicide. And funnily enough, Wayne was the first person I called about that because we had that connection where I felt like I could talk to him about anything. And that's something I'd never had before, where I could feel like I could just, obviously I'd had it with a couple of friends, but I didn't feel like I could have it in a sporting community, sporting kind of atmosphere where I could go to someone and just say, this has just happened. I have no idea what to do. And so, yeah, kind of moving on to the work I do a lot of events, telling my story, talking about young people's mental health. Some of them is just something like this, where I'll do a discussion, I'll do a kind of take part in a podcast kind of thing. But then I also do more educational talks about kind of what actually is mental health. These are the key signs to look out for. I'm by no means a professional, but I talk from my own experiences and the experiences people have told me about, which, given kind of the state of mental health in young people, has seemed to be quite effective for people who exhibit symptoms or exhibit kind of uncharacteristic signs that they're suffering, but don't want to talk about it. And so their friends are the first people they can go to. And so I try and kind of make people aware of what to look out for with their friends. And then during lockdown, the first kind of coronavirus lockdown, I texted Wayne and said, yeah, I know this is a bit crap, this lockdown, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's having a really tough time at the moment. So what do you think about kind of trying to start up a group? And Wayne basically said, yeah. And we had a couple of phone calls about it, and then created a group which we call the Mindful Wolf. And in this group, we basically ran 2 sessions every week to give people a sense of routine, a sense of kind of normality, where every Monday or Tuesday, we do a meditation session of some sort. So which Wayne normally ran, which was something so we did box breathing, we talked about gratitude practices, we talked about, we did a yoga session one day. So just so people could kind of have something to do every single week. So they had that sense of routine. And then we introduced every Thursday a section we called Reflect, Avoid, Neglect, named after, of course, through Wayne's kind of talents with words. Yeah, so that was basically an opportunity where people could film themselves, record a live video, do something along those lines, send in a message to the group, telling part of their story, reflecting on something that's happened in their life. And so I kicked that off, told kind of a more detailed version of my story. And then that kind of regular session became instrumental in how I dealt with the death of my friend, and that I had that community, which I'd never really had before, especially in a sporting kind of environment, where I could just come on and go, look, guys, today was a really crap day, and just talk to a camera. It's not like I cared who was watching. I just knew that I had people there. And so, yeah, American football has been kind of massive in my university experience. It's been massive in my overall kind of university life, and the sense of community I've gained through kind of playing and being part of a team has been instrumental in helping me to deal with my own mental health, and hopefully through the creation of these groups and my trying to eliminate the stigma surrounding kind of stereotypes and surrounding mental health in sport, hopefully it helps some other people as well. But yeah, that was a bit of a waffle, but that's kind of my bit of my story, a bit of kind of what I do as well.
Nah, mate, that's not a waffle. That's class, that, mate. Honestly, like, thanks very much for sharing that. I know Steve had a question or something to say.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, so I found myself very drawn in listening to your story. Then, I suppose I listen to everyone's stories, and they're all very different, which is amazing. But for me to hear that a teenager, and you're 19 now, you've been going through this for years, is going through that sort of stuff. I can't imagine it, thank you for sharing it. I got so many. I'd love to sit down and talk to you more about it all, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you you had an unsuccessful suicide attempt, because but also it's what you're doing with it as well. You're doing a good thing, and you should be proud of yourself, because that's amazing. And to share what you've just shared, the way you shared it, especially about body dysmorphia, self-harming, and then playing polo, and like I found myself like imagining myself doing that, and it must have been very difficult for you. So like I just wanted to say, yeah, like thank you, mate.
No,
it was really good listening
really
to that.
glad it had an impact on you. This is kind of what I try to do when I do these talks, because I've always been seen as kind of the class clown, kind of the guy who's always been kind of happy-go-lucky, both at my previous school and now at university. I've kind of been the joker, the guy who always be the one who tries to get everyone kind of hyped up at clubs and stuff, that kind of thing. And kind of I try and show that through that kind of I try and break that stereotype, because in kind of through just my life, that's what I've been doing, and that I may have seemed to have this kind of fun side. But the moment I always talk about taking off the mask, the moment you kind of remove that outer shell, that outer protection, it's actually a really kind of vulnerable human being inside, which people don't expect. And that's quite a big thing, especially with teenagers and young people, young men in particular, who have this ability to put on a persona to hide what may be going on beneath the surface. And so when I do these kind of tell my story, I try and kind of have that impact to show people that like what you see on the surface may not be exactly what goes on underneath. Yeah.
I think that's sorry to interrupt, I think that's the most, like, for me, that's what I probably learned the most tonight. Not like you should ever judge books by covers, but if I was to ever look or speak to any of you outside of this, Mike, we've had chat, Steve, I wouldn't ever relate that to both of you two. Different people, different ways. So that's probably the fact that, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but the people who put on almost the biggest front, not have the biggest problems, but at least, I mean, you're actively doing something about it. But maybe I would always look in the wrong place, potentially. I would look at that quiet person in the corner and think maybe they need the help. I wouldn't look at, like, I'm similar in terms of always wanting to be front and center, hence the show. Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm the host and I run this shit. No, I'm joking.
If you think you're the George, I will remove you right now.
But I suppose that's the probably my biggest learning point from tonight is it's not always what it seems.
Yeah.
And, we joked about that with Victor early on about the acting and stuff like that, but maybe this is the greatest act of all, because there's many people there who I can sit and resonate with tonight who I would never point that finger at, and would probably look somewhere else for that. Not like I'm looking to, but you always want to help out. So probably my biggest learning point, and maybe what other people should take from it, is to always judge a book by its cover and try and find deeper into that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Sorry, you go.
No, carry on, mate. Honestly,
I guess you can kind of draw similarities physically to mentally as well. Just because someone may be acting one way on the outside doesn't necessarily mean that's how they feel on the inside. And the analogy I always use when people don't kind of understand where I'm getting at is I show them a picture of an offensive lineman. So if you look at Trent Brown, for example, very, very big boy. And if you show a picture of him, he's 6'9", 380 pounds, Raiders O-line, big boy. And if you see him, like just a picture of him, very few people who know the sport expect him to be a high-level professional sportsman. But that's what he is. That's what he's kind of dedicated his life to, even though stereotypically, conventionally, he doesn't look the part. I mean, obviously, the more you know about American football, the more you see he's kind of like perfect. But it's kind of the same with just because someone acts a certain way, that doesn't mean that's how they feel on the inside. Yeah.
I think that's sort of.
Oh, sorry, carry on, Matt.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of that sort of alludes to highlighting that people's behaviour aren't necessarily a reflection of their intentions, and it's the way in which they manage or deal with their emotions, rightly or wrongly, and understanding emotional intelligence is particularly important part of that. So if people haven't been given the skills in how to deal with that, then it's understandable that they're not going to necessarily reflect to the world what it is they're actually feeling. People who are very, very lonely, maybe expressing aggressive behaviour. So it's just a matter of understanding that the how people are acting isn't necessarily a reflection in any way, shape, or form of what they are intending to be doing. I think that's what we often oversee in a lot of people.
The one thing I was wanting to ask between Wayne and Carl, if you can help us out here, I know you were mentioning that you are going to start up doing like these calls and things. Like, what's the next step for you guys of setting these up?
Yeah, we'll get together. I mean, we've had an initial conversation about how we structure these, and I think given tonight, it's been nice to have this as a bit of a platform to talk about it and get some different views from people. We now need to take the next step, myself and Wayne and others, anyone that wants to get involved, really. But we'll take the next step in terms of setting this stuff up and get people in. And it's going to, I mean, I see it as open to the football community initially, and then we'll see where we go from there. But certainly, if people are interested, they can certainly, message Wayne and let him know, and then do it through that, through the In the Lid banner, and we can get it set up. And these things, they take a little bit of time to set up, but we can get stuff put together fairly quickly, just because you can do things like this so easily virtually. So, that's something which we'll push to do. And another conversation like this might be useful as well to do online. So we'll review.
Yeah, I think we're happy to facilitate episode, 2 episodes, however much it is, because even I've learned tonight, and I'm sure everyone in here has just learned from everyone in here. And if we could get even another 9 people in next time, and we all just learn, that's, I'm not the best at math proven before, but that's 18 people who've been changed by Britball and just having by a chat and Britball creating that platform, and that's really the point.
Even it doesn't even have to be on here. Do you know what I mean? Like a little, if it's a private group where you guys are all talking, and I mean, I'd love to be in there. Me personally, do you know what I mean? Just for self growth alone, do you know what I mean? And I can maybe learn and understand something. I would love that. Yeah. And obviously, I'm happy to help and share, promote anything that we can do to help this situation moving forward. So anything you guys are doing, as far as I'm concerned, is fantastic work. So I'm well behind it. Like, I've learned ridiculous amounts so far just in the conversation alone that we're having, and it's kind of, it sounds daft, but I don't know how I'm gonna approach things tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's funny, Adam, you won't mind me saying this, because this week we've had a conversation about this episode, and the reason you're doing all the subtitles and you're doing all the bringing comments is because you openly said to me you didn't know how comfortable you'd feel doing tonight. Yeah, because you didn't know how it would affect you.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, like, is this going to make me dig inside of me and think, do you know what I mean? And I mean, I've been in tears in different times here, and I have had to jump out, and like, I'm just, I'm serious when I say this. I don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow. I know something inside me now is I'm thinking I'm going to try and look out for these things and do something about it, but I just literally don't know how I'm going to wake up tomorrow and go into my job. Do you know what I mean? Like, I coach as a job. That's my job. And I'm now thinking, like, do I change something? Have I got to change something just slightly? And it's, I mean, I do this every time anyways, but I'll probably finish this with you guys and watch it back just in case I've missed anything. Like, I mean, to be fair, I just like seeing me on the laptop, but like, I just need to like process it a bit. Do you know, it's like,
if it helps everyone, he usually rings me throughout the whole thing and gives me personal narration on his performance.
I just sit there taking pictures of myself going, that's such good lighting. No, but like,
there's a couple of things I'd like to say on that. One is that I think when you have these sorts of conversations where you kind of take the armor off, and men especially when they open up and they're a little bit more vulnerable, things do begin to shift internally. One thing I just want to remind, that's inevitable. It's just because we don't as guys really practice sharing at this kind of level. So it does feel a little bit alien to start with, and then you get used to it, and then things really start moving and shifting. But one thing just to remind people of is that there is this, I believe there is, that everyone has a kind of innate mental health. Like your normal state when you was a kid was to be mentally healthy. Yeah, and it's like we've talked a lot about mental ill health. We've talked a lot about the issues. When you strip that away, your body, your physiology, and your mind is working for you. And it's important to kind of remind people of this, because I think sometimes it can get very heavy and then everyone starts self-diagnosing. That's not what this is about. This is about saying, look, you have innate mental health. At your core, you are healthy. And it's about finding your way back to that. So if you do feel like you have issues or stuff that kind of come up in this conversation, then do reach out. I'm on Facebook. I'm sure Steve would talk to you. Any of us will talk to you. If this stuff has come up, please do reach out. But also remind yourself that tomorrow when you feel these things, it's totally normal to feel sadness, grief, anger, depression. And, you know, the nature of thought is that it ebbs and flows. Okay, so it's not going to stay with you. And so what I would encourage you to do is to just feel the feeling and then allow that to flow through your body, and then get on with your day as you would any other day. You'll find that that resilience will return. It's like a bouncing ball that you push under the seat, you know, under the bath. It will come back up again. So, you know, just want to reassure people that you know, you're okay.
And I think it's okay.
From what,
go on, Victor.
No, go on. Yeah, from what Carl was saying about take the armor off, like it's a massive what's it called? It's a massive representation of how we've all been brought up as boys, men, whatever. Like it's the whole boys don't cry thing. It's the whole, you know, man
stiff upper lip,
That is it is. It's every boy, every man. I think it's changing a little bit now. As a dad, I'm a dad now, and I bring up my son, and I feel guilty when I say, "Why are you crying?" That's your instinct. It's like, boy, you shouldn't cry. Like you're showing weakness, but really, that's never gonna go away. Like as men, that's gonna be, you know, that is the status quo for the now. But it's like I didn't realize the whole. I think Ben mentioned it about vulnerability being your strength. Now, I had a situation when I was probably like mid-teens, 15, 16. I've always been a big guy. Like, I've always been quite confident and not egotistical with my presence or trying to put it my weight about. But I kind of realized that at a youngish age, that if I kind of walked around with a serious face, more often than not, people won't really trouble me. But then I always also realized that, you know, I can't walk around too much with a serious face because, you know, the whole bag clutching thing and people crossing the road. So like, I struck a little balance. I was walking up the road from a friend's house, and I noticed this car was following me up the road, and it was like parked up past me. And there was an even bigger guy in the driver's seat, and another guy in the passenger seat, another guy in the driver's seat. Anyway, I walked on. It was like a 5-10 minute walk up the road from my friend's house to my house, and this car followed me up the road. And these times I'm walking, I'm thinking, nah, this ain't right. I get to my front door. My stepdad answers the door, and he comes to the door with a knife. He's making these sandwiches for work. He comes to the door with a knife, and he starts threatening me, joking. And I look over my shoulder, and this massive guy is walking towards my house. And then luckily, my stepdad comes out. This guy starts talking to my stepdad and whatever. And like, I was really shook by that. I'm thinking to myself, right, I could have got kidnapped. This guy could have dragged me in the car, driven off, Turns out these guys were out looking for someone, and they were going to ask me if I knew this person. Like something had happened. I think a girl had been assaulted or whatever, and they were on a mission that night, that evening, to find this person. Anyway, that night I got in the shower and I burst into tears. Like I thought to myself, like, something, I just burst into tears. That fear inside me I just welled up and I burst into tears. Got out of the shower, kind of settled myself, and I thought, right, I was genuinely scared. Like, was I right to be scared? Why am I crying? And that moment in me, I thought to myself, right, like, anyway, it is what it is. Like, it was something that could have been, should have been. Nothing actually happened, but the thought of something happening, and you know, the fear of I could have possibly kidnapped. Again, I broke. When the mental health thing actually got documented for me, I was 18. I was also young, like around the Ben's age. 18. This was 2004, and again, it was so taboo back then. Like that, even the thought, I didn't even know there was a mental health unit in my area. Like, that's how quiet and hush hush and taboo it was. I come from an African background as well, so again, my family, my parents, and all the older people that I knew in the family probably hadn't got a clue. They're like, oh yeah, it's juju, it's voodoo, it's this. They don't really. It wasn't something that was out there as much. So when I was going through what I was going through, essentially there weren't nothing wrong in my life. There was no problem. I was decent in school, had friends, everything was cool. Again, it was a man up. Like, you ain't got no real life problems. You see the TV, things on the TV. Like, you see, like, I wasn't poor as such. Things were cool. But I was triggered by coming out of an exam. I sat in one of my A level exams. I was looking at the paper and I just couldn't focus. It was a maths exam, and so I said to I put my hand up. I said, look, I felt with myself something was wrong. I said to the teacher that I can't even do this. Left the exam. A couple of days later, I thought, I'm going to carry on. Got another exam. Went to my exam and they're like, no, you can't take any more exams this year. You can't take any more exams. I'm like, what? Like, that whole year gone, like, down the pan. I didn't even realize. Like, I've stepped out of that exam just to kind of compose myself and say, look, I'm going to sack this one off, prepare for the next one. And then that whole year at college was thrown off. And for me, growing up, my academics was always in high regard. Didn't go to a poor school or anything like that, but it was always something I was good at. Always something I thought, you know what, I'm not great at football, but my schoolwork's good, everything's cool. That moment there, I lost my comfort blanket. Everything stripped away, and I got lost within myself. All my confidence stripped, and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't relax. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't chill. Didn't want to have fun. Didn't want to do nothing social. Didn't want to take my mind off it. All I could think about was that I felt that my exams are a mess, whatever. So then I just started exhibiting different behaviors. That, on top of not being able to sleep, everything was just going like 200 miles an hour, but half a mile an hour at the same time. My mum's obviously, first one in, like, what's the matter? What's the matter? So there was a point so I couldn't even talk to her. I couldn't even put it into words that what was wrong, because I was looking around. I was thinking to myself, what was wrong? And the school thing was what I reverted back to. Exams, can't take my exams. Da, 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 da. And then the more and more I couldn't sleep, the more and more things went round and round and round. So my mum actually took me to one of those urgent care centers. They prescribed some medication, and my body just completely rejected that and made everything 10 times worse. I'd never taken anything growing up. Even when I had a headache and that, I wasn't someone who took pills. So again, the chemical thing I think Mike alluded to, like, the chemical thing was off. My body weren't reacting. They put these chemicals in my body, it just threw things off even more. And then it got extreme, like borderline, like not hallucinations, but when you're not sleeping and you're not comfortable in yourself, everything is heightened, everything is sensitive. You don't realize what you're doing, but people are looking at you hard. Paranoia started to build. And my mum, having already taken me to this place for the medical route, she took me to a church, one of my friend's churches. Literally one evening, it was me and like these three priests. I knelt in this car park. They started washing my hair, kind of doing this little kind of ritual thing, and I'm just like zombified at this time. I think like my mum wants to take me there. I'm gonna go. Knelt in this car park behind this social club, and he washed my hair with some lavender oil, and they said their prayers, whatever. Like, it was all above board. It was like a religious, blessing, whatever, virtual, like almost like an exorcism. It was weird. Got home, got into bed. Again, another shitty night. Woke up in the morning. I said to mum, like, I just cut my hair off because all I could smell was this oil in my hair. And again, I had really long hair, so I just cut it all off. Samson and Delilah woke up in the morning, looked in the mirror, and I couldn't even see myself anymore, let alone understand what was going on in my own head. That kind of just shut me in this box of lost. I didn't know where I was, what I was going to do, where going forward. I thought my life was, just completely gone. Like, I completely lost myself. Anyway, things got so drastic. I ended up in mental health unit. These times I'm still 18, still young, like fresh, getting ready to go to uni, prepping for uni. I'd already filled in the UCAS papers, all that was right in front of me, but then suddenly taken away. Was in this unit for about 6 weeks, and yeah, it was a test, a massive, massive test. And it wasn't until my younger brother, who's 16 years younger, came to visit me in the unit, and I was really close to him. And he came to visit me, and then something just clicked in me, and I was just like, seeing this young innocent, I went to pick him up, and he kind of shied away from me, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, like, what's going on? Like, if he can sense that something's not right, then I really need to be checking myself and sorting out something in my spirit that's not right. Anyway, cut long story short, my coping mechanism and my survival mechanism came from a friend of my mum's who'd actually been aware of. She'd done community stuff. She worked in mental health, and there was a garden at the unit that I was at. And she came to visit me one time, and she sat in the garden with me, and she said to me, "Victor, what's up?" I said, I flopped my exams. I just started waffling. She said, "Yeah, but what's the matter?" And I said, "Again, I flopped my exams." She goes, "You know you can do them again next year, right?" And I thought, yeah. So what's the matter? And I was like, well, nothing. So I had this conversation with this impartial person that just did the man up thing, but she was listening. She weren't judging me. She was talking to me as someone who knew me, knew a friend and family. I used to drop my little brother to the nursery to see us, and she'd see me dropping him off to nursery. Anyway, had this candid, upfront discussion, and it was just like, right, like she's right. My little brother knows that she's right because he wants me to be better, to be able to actually pick him up and embrace him with that normal warmth that I had. And that made me think, you know what? I need to sort myself out. Anyway, in this place, this little thing, music therapy, I did a lot of writing things down as well. Wrote a load of things down on paper. Just write, just play instruments, and doing things that are just impulsive and natural. Even if like you just get it out, you let it out. And I began to vent, began to get to a place where I realized, hold on a minute, I'm going through something, but it's not the end. Like, and I had contemplated the end. That's how deep it got to at a point. Um, but at the same time, where I was so young, testosterone charged, I was this young being full of all this angst. I couldn't not give the signals that I was suffering. So people around me were realizing that there was something wrong, but didn't know how to help. And again, my parents were scared of asking for help. My mum actually asked the priest in the normal church we went to, not to the one where they put me in the car but washing their hair. And the priest was like, he was aware, he was like, get him help, put him in Maudsley. It was Maudsley. I went into Maudsley and did all that. And that experience, again, I hated it for being at my 18, at my prime, all these things on my doorstep, and they're suddenly being taken away, thinking that it was never going to happen. But the 6 weeks I was in there, it was hard. But again, you get through it, got through it, and I've had relapses since then for whatever other reasons. But the whole situation is like bringing it back to a little Latin American football. I was at a stage where I was going through things. I was in a comfortable, very comfortable world. I felt safe, but this build up and that moment where you need someone, maybe that situation where I cried in the shower, I didn't talk about it. I didn't realize that at that point that being weak is not actually, it's not a problem. Like being scared, it's not a problem. Being waking up in the morning and not wanting to get up out of bed, it's not a problem. When I was going through what I was going on, I was not sleeping. I thought to myself, I've got to get up in the morning, go downstairs to keep up appearances. No, it's not a problem. I probably just needed a holiday and a break to get away from things. But yeah, it's mental health again. Back when I went through it, it was so taboo under the carpet. Now it's been brought out from under the carpet. It can have the opposite effect of people being so aware of it that again that fear of acknowledging it still is there, and they think, oh, but if I talk to someone about it, they're just gonna say, oh yeah, you're bipolar, you're this, just because they think I'm that. Like it's a self-defeating prophecy, but at the same time self-fulfilling prophecy. So as someone who's gone through it and seen the way it's been treated over the years, I really want to keep close to it and help kind of be that person who's not going to jump on someone who opens up. Let them open up, let them blossom in their own way, and then let their garden become what it becomes. And then they can look at it and think, wow, actually, I've just come out of myself. I have found a way by hearing myself talk, answering a basic question from someone who had a basic approach. And then I built my resilience and my coping mechanisms like that. And that's when I didn't have American football. I look at
Yeah.
American football now and think to myself, if I had had it when I was 18, that summer when I messed up my exams, I would have thought, you know what, F it, I've got 6 weeks now. I'm going to be a beast. I would have been a fair
Mm.
part. I would have been an animal and used that rage and that angst, done it, gone to uni, bloody played rugby, been in Beast, done America, whatever. But it's one of them ones where, like, hearing Ben's situation and hearing his grasp on it at such a young age, hearing the fact that he's in a position where the mechanisms are there to help people by setting up groups, the virtual, like,
Mm.
there's so many ways you can sow these seeds and let people kind of find a safe space and a healthy space that there's a lot of fish in the sea that are not aware they can find that container to then just swim
Mm-hmm.
in for a little bit, safe space,
Mm-hmm.
and then go back out into the big wide world. That
Mhm.
again is crazy and mental. And again, American football for me is a representation of this mad, mad world that we live in. Like to be able to turn up on a Sunday and lay people out, to turn up on a Sunday and have that physical manifestation of a struggle. Not many people in their life will get knocked off their feet, get up and think, all right, literally physically knocked off your feet, get up and think, all right, let's go and do it again. Now, that
Mm-hmm.
fear of falling, that fear of falling on the floor, fear in a physical way and a mental way has all, I've rehearsed it and I've done it obviously now I'm a father, a parent. It's another level. And again, Steve's story, the level of Steve's situation, that for me is something that, as a human being, it's right up there. Do you know what I mean? It's the intensity and what that does to you. Like, it's a lot. But again, from where I went through it when it was so taboo and I tried so much to hide it and I couldn't, the fact that I've had the experience to have to deal with it in that environment where it was so closed off, I feel that I need to make sure that I use my experience of having to bounce back multiple times to then engage with people like yourselves on this call who have your own experiences, and just understanding that coping is it's possible. Everyone has a coping mechanism because people are doing it. Do you know what I mean? And having been one of those people that I've tried to thought, you know what, that's it, and slam the door on myself, it's like I'm just gonna hopefully get a chance to empower young people to kick the door down anytime it slams. You know what I mean? That's yeah, and I did that a lot when I was in the unit. To be fair, they had a man look on the door. I used to walk to the door, look at the door, and I used to just barge it open. Like I used to run through the door, and then stand there, not going. I didn't know anywhere to go. I just didn't want to be locked away. And that, for me, I'm thinking about that and the little behavior things that I did. It was weird. It was so weird. And again, I haven't been able to talk about all the weird and wonderful things with the people that witnessed it. But I know in my heart and mind, when it comes to hearing other people, so it's like people today, it's in line. I've sat here listening for so long, and it's just nice to hear that there's people that have kind of fought through it and got there. You know what I mean? But
well, that's it. That's the whole point of this, is to make sure we get people together who are going to, or are willing to share those similar stories, because I think it's been made very, very clear now that we need this space. People need to have these deeper conversations as opposed to the superficial conversations that blokes normally have. Just having a beer and having a pisser. It's not necessarily as fulfilling as we need to.
But I think obviously when we're to be objective about it, with obviously Baffa and all the rest of that stuff, I feel like they're doing the thing for the sport, saying, they want to target flag and get the sport going. But there's a whole massive senior full set of lads that have paid in for the last how many years to keep Baffa going, that I feel they owe a duty to kind of make sure they embrace them as well. And obviously you got the uni guys that's in the middle of that, and our senior ones that are kind of hanging on and are going to move into coaching. So there's definitely an energy and movement with something like Lift the Lid that's already set up. They need to kind of use that and propel these kind of organizations to the forefront and allow it to be the vehicle of kind of change, acknowledging change. And yeah, like there's been instances in the game when I've played the game, and as I say, I talk about Top Boy as one of the positives, but a lot of the coaches that I think to myself have like really, really kind of just been there. And as I mentioned before, just a little word here and there, just to kind of, I know, but we know that you don't want to necessarily everyone to know, but I know when you got a guy that can just put that energy over, it's just, it's a massive weight off. When he comes and says, right, you just knocked the quarterback down and pushed off of him. Normally I kick you out of the team for that, but let's keep it moving, yeah. And it's the sport is amazing, and again, Bath have a duty to kind of make sure they keep that. People like myself and people that are experienced and got a lot to give within and around the sport. You know what I mean?
Thanks very much for sharing there, Victor.
No worries.
What we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving on to the next segment. I know, Carl, you've got to go, man. You've already given up a long time now, so thanks very much for coming on, mate. If any of you other guys want to jump out before we move on to the next bit, feel free. We're going to move on to another segment. I think we've lost Mike.
Cheers,
as well.
Carl.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks very much, mate. I think Mike has lost connection. Or he's still here, but he's lost connection with his mic apparently. But if I'm honest, I just think he's muted himself and forgot. But we'll just we'll see what happens there. Well, should we just add him back in and hope for the best?
No, it looks like he's frozen.
Let's do it. Let's add him back in and unmute him. Yeah, he's gone now. He's going to probably just be jumping back in. First of all, I'd just like to say thanks very much for everyone for.
Adam.
Yeah, should we let's have a 5-minute break and then we'll jump back on.
Because we've got the be right back thing, haven't we? Because I need to go to the toilet. Wayne said he does too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
I'm currently sitting in a soggy patch. I need to get moving.
Right, we'll have a 5-minute break, guys, and then we'll be back on. I'll just put our stream starting logo on again. Thanks very much. We'll be back in 5.
Cheers,
All right, guys. Mike's still having some issues trying to get back in. Apparently, his laptop's frozen. So I'm going to invite everyone back in a second and we'll just move on without the big man. So I'll invite everyone back in now. There's Steve, Victor, Mike, Wayne, and Ben. Thanks for hanging around, guys. Much appreciated. We all had a nice little refreshing
I'm sure
break
we're all
there.
appreciating the footage there of Tamworth doing bits left, right, and centre. Oh, there's Mike, perfectly timed.
Hi, I'm back. Can you hear me, everyone?
Yeah. So that's why you need a Chromebook, man. You know what I mean? Doesn't use on your
high-powered laptops.
No, but again, honestly, thanks very much for coming on. It is much appreciated. Might as well give another little plug since we've had a little segment. So sponsor EP Sport in the corner. Look at that, I've got it right as well. I'm like a weatherman. I'm doing well. Yeah, everyone do it there. Point the EP.
It's harder than it looks.
Mike's the wrong way, you know. Well done, Mike. Cheers, appreciate that.
Look so much like a dad then.
I think we all did, mate.
I know.
Oh, I'm definitely applying for the BBC weatherman job next. Like, it's cold here. No, but I think we're ready to move on to the next topic, Mike. Do you want to bring the next topic up?
Yeah, there was one thing I did want to say just before we moved on, and it was just in relation to Victor's comment there about obviously there is a lot of young people involved with this sport, and you know a lot of us who play the sport are dads and stuff, and I think it's one of the things we really should be challenging now at a young age to make sure that they all know it's okay to talk, it's okay to deal with their emotions, and if we say it to my little boy time and time again, like obviously if he's stressed out in that situation, then let's deal with it and we'll move on and we'll come back to it. But we always address the issue and make sure it's okay for him to feel the emotion and explain to him what those emotions are that he's feeling. It's okay to feel angry. He's naturally going to do that. But how next time can we fix that to make sure that that's not an issue moving forward? Or how can we spot these signs? And they're doing it in schools a lot more now with conscious discipline and, cognitive behavior management, like mentioned there earlier. So it's all about making sure that we identify that and just making sure they know it's okay to not have to just be a man and grin and bear it, because there's a lot of, as we can see, a lot of younger people feeling that. And just because, Ben's expressed he started to feel that at 18 doesn't mean he wasn't feeling that at 9, but didn't have the right role model to say that that's okay to feel that. And maybe we might not have been
I think a really important thing. Sorry, Ben, you carry on, mate.
No, I was just going to say, kind of on that point, there were times, especially with the whole body dysmorphia thing, where I just thought, I don't like the way I look, but that's normal, because even at the age of 8, 9, 10, like if you don't see people talking about it, then how are you supposed to know that's the right thing to do? How are you supposed to know that, like, what you're feeling isn't normal? But there's a whole big thing with people talking about how much a child can be influenced at such a young age. So why not? And it kind of surprises me how it's taken until now for people to start realizing that if someone that young can be influenced so strongly, why don't you use that to your advantage?
Exactly.
And it's right to talk, and it's right to show emotions, and it's right to be vulnerable, and it's right to kind of like break those stereotypes.
And how many people have issues now that they had when they was kids? So you don't forget it; it stays with you. So I suppose it's just if you express that. I know, because, and you hear it a lot with elder people. This happened when I was a kid, and they're only just coming to terms with now. Like maybe if they challenged and dealt with that, then they maybe not have that coming back. So I just encourage people who are out there coaching youth and junior football. Any dads watching, like, it's okay to let your little lad cry or let your little girl cry, and it doesn't have to be, let's fix this now, move on, be a man, stiff up a lip. Like, let them cry with them, show them that you cry, don't hold that back.
That's really important.
Yeah, encourage it and release it, because it's an emotion, isn't it? Like, how well do you feel after you've had a cry? Like, you feel exhausted. You do, don't you? Like, I love watching a good film. Think, right, this is my cry night. Gonna have a cry. Anything generally where it's a dad and daughter situation. So that's why you killed me before, Steve.
A scheduled cry night. I like that.
But no, just to get that emotion. Like you said, it's an emotion. We like to laugh. We like to have a good time. But also an emotion is crying. So feeling that and letting the younger generation and people know that that's okay to do that. It's an outlet.
I think what's really important is to actually understand, like, particularly for blokes, is that, like, there's a whole repertoire of vocabulary that can be used to describe emotions, and yet normally blokes, it's either, oh, I'm fucking great, or oh, I'm angry, or I'm sad. That's pretty much the three go-tos, you know what I mean? It's a very, very limited repertoire of words we use to actually describe how we're feeling. And I feel like one of the things that we need to do, you know, particularly if we are, you know, fathers and ultimately people of influence, I think we need to make sure that we're understanding more effectively the emotions that we're experiencing, and therefore the emotions that, you know, people around us are experiencing as well, and giving them that vocabulary to actually express themselves and, you know, put an understanding to the things that they're feeling.
I mean, for me, what I've took out of the conversation so far is I've listened to everything that's gone on, and I'm kind of noticing the people around me that's kind of supporting me, if you know what I mean. And for me personally, I don't think I've got like much going on. I think I'm just quite a boring sort, if I'm honest. You know what I mean? Like I'm just, like, you know what I mean? Like, but I kind of, for me, the one thing that I've got is I've kind of got like an overactive mind, if you know what I mean, and I struggle to sleep at a night time, and. I mean, when you mentioned ASMR before, I literally sit with ASMR on and headphones, and that's how I finally get to sleep. Yeah,
so I do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing. Like, I just, and I'm just thinking in my mind, like, this probably sound daft to a lot of people, but I bought a lock picking set, right? Right? Honestly, right? I'll get it out next time I'm on stream, right? I've got a lock picking set, and you get like a practice padlock and stuff, and when I'm up in the middle of the night, at like 3 o'clock in the morning, sitting there thinking, I can't sleep. I'll sit and practice picking lock. It's not like I want to. I don't want to go thieving cars or nothing. But it's just like it gives us something, and it bores the living hell out of us that I go to sleep. And it's like this is what I'm saying. Like when I've got guys supporting us around us, I'll have like one of the lads, James. He's one of my coaches. I also coach him as a player when we're at the adult team and things. And James will just give us a text every now and again and go, "Oh, have you got any further with your locks?" And in my head, I'm just thinking, is he just taking the piss out of us? You know what I mean? Now, the more I think of it now, he's just checking in to see if I'm sleeping.
Looking out for you.
Nah,
do you know what I mean?
I went through, I think it was months of not being able to sleep without leaving the TV on, putting it on sleep and waking up when it's turned off, or having the stereo on. I had to find a sleep version on the stereo, have the radio on and the music, people talking, just to disengage your brain sometimes. And again, that was probably a period where I probably needed to talk to someone, something was going on, but I discovered that this is what worked for me, and it just became a coping strategy that developed out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? But our brains are crazy, and brains are just complex.
I mean,
Native American flute music is the way to go. That's the one I go to.
Mate, it's barbering. Barbering does it for me. I don't know what it is.
So I went above kind of lock picking and stuff. When I have trouble sleeping, I just get out this, which essentially is a bed of nails. It's literally just like a load of spikes, and I lie on it for like half an hour every day, and it is sharp. But then it makes my bed feel like a cloud afterwards. Body gets so used to this like spikes inside. Then you get off it, and suddenly everything's the most comfortable place on earth.
Honestly, I'll try anything to get to sleep. I'm not even joking. Like, but if anyone's like locked out of a shed or anything, level 4 locks and down, like, I'm happy to help. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a couple of level 5s I'm struggling with, but I can do single pin locking now. But so level 5, don't give us a shout. 4s and downs, happy to help, mate. So I think, I know, Mike.
There's levels to locks, yeah.
I'm telling you now. I'll bring them on next time. I'll send you his videos. I'll send his. Honestly, you just want to get into lock picking? Give me a shout, right?
Is that going to be next week's feature? Is it?
Mate, right? You know, next week on Britballin, Adam teaches you how to pick a level 4 lock.
No sheds are safe in the UK.
Mate, honestly, I wish I had them behind. They're upstairs, otherwise I would have got them.
Shall we move on to, before this turns into too much banter, the line between banter and bullying, game day training, a little bit of that kind of.
I want to come at you actually, because I was thinking today about the whole Britball culture. The whole
Which Mike?
You, Mike, with the white headphones, yeah. The whole gridiron memes thing and all the rest of that vibe. Because at the end of the day, gridiron memes were a massive platform for Britball for me. Like they positioned themselves where they were. I don't know what the stats were, but from what I could see, they were getting a massive following at a time just from people jumping in to have a laugh. She was on there. The banter culture is American football in Britball. And just to come at you on a level, because I was thinking before the Manchester game when we played you, that final, obviously there was a lot of pictures going around of you being, this guy playing American football, this guy being big. And obviously how it actually ended up playing out was you at the end of the game posing with the DVD and your medal. And I'm thinking to myself, that day hurt, but in the past year, that day hurt because we lost. But at the same time, like the whole Britball culture, the bullying, the banter thing, I featured on gridiron memes. They took the piss out of me because I was a punter and I was huge. And this young guy was trying to block me, and he looked more like a punter than me. And I think they put, man, don't hit the punter, he's slight or something like that. It was like, someone came at me, innit? Like, it's one of the ones where I was mature enough to deal with that. Like, it wasn't a big thing. How did you find that whole situation of you being put on the spot like that? And obviously, I know I've been following you on socials. Like, you've been losing weight, you've been doing what you're doing,
crushing it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. But obviously, to be then have your personal status and whatever put out there like that, and everyone kind of, that's the guy. How was that for you with the banter bullying side? It was essentially it was bullying, wasn't it? That was
like I said, I think we all have our own ways of dealing with it. I'm usually someone who can. I'll always call myself fat, so you don't have to. I see Steve uses that same mechanism in terms of I deal with that. If I address the elephant in the room, which is usually me, then it's over with. So then you can't make a joke of that because I've already done it. So
you had the DVD ready, innit? So that's
So that planned, no, but to be fair, that was because I did cop for a bit of flack with it, and then the things what hurt me the most was more like after games, people would say, "How much do you weigh? Like, am I bigger than you? Like, am I the biggest guy in Britball, or are you?" And usually, they don't ever bother me. And I have used that as a chip on my shoulder ever since. And it actually has made me a better player. Genuinely made me a better player. So I wanted to lose weight. And I love it, like, when I absolutely smash someone to the floor and I purposely lie on top of them for longer and I make them feel every pound of it. No matter how good you are. And one of the things I always said is ask anyone who's played against me whether it stopped me playing. And, Wayne's played against me, and me and Wayne have had battles. Ash Miller have had battles. I've played against really good players who I believe that I still came out on top. The Warriors defensive coordinator at the end of the game came up to me. That's the London Warriors saying we had to scheme against you because when you get someone on the down block, we can't stop it. So I've always used it as a positive. Yeah, it hurts. It did hurt. But out of even more of the back of that, the best thing to come out of it is I've actually had people messaging me, asking me what I do. Like, you're a big guy in Britball. We've just had this new lad start who's a big player. What does he need to do? Down to what clothes does he need to buy? Because I don't like my ass crack being on show. Those kind of things. No, I hate it.
Oh, mate. I'll get game pants. Make sure they're showing me. Like, I'm not even joking.
As a fat guy, don't smell and don't have your ass.
If I've got to be centre. If I'm going to the cubic, go on, lad, get your hands in there, fella. Yeah. I'd love that, mate. Not even joking.
No, honestly, don't have your ass crack out and don't be the smelly fat guy. When you've
got a QB turning around to the coach going, "Come and go and shotgun." No, you can't. Dig deep, fella.
That for me is that's how I took it. And like I said, the best thing that came out of it, I went over to Morecambe a couple of years ago to help one of their guys out, how to move his feet, how to use his weight, what stance is comfortable. Yeah. So you become an unofficial role model for big guys playing the football. And obviously for my health, I need to lose weight. So that's why I'm losing weight. But that was a decision. Well, my partner looked me in the eye and I looked her in the eye and we said, this needs to change. Do you know what I mean? And that's the decision. But we made that decision as a family unit for my little boy to give him a role model and they're the key people I care about. But in terms of Britball, they can, dare I say that, they can fuck off for a while.
That's it. No, because I started the sport at like 15 stone, and I was big. Like for my size, I weighed a lot. But I went down to training. They tried to put me on the O line. We did running drills at the end, and he was like, "Nah, this guy's gonna play linebacker." Went middle linebacker, played there, MVP first year, whatever. And then as the years went by, I was lucky enough to be humble enough to say, "All right, I'm getting bigger. Let me just diversify my skill set." And it wasn't until obviously I got to the stage where I was like, I was playing at 21, 22, 23, 24 stone. O-line just happened to be the way. Like we were on that 0-10 season, we didn't have O-line man. I jumped in, I lent a hand. Coach made a comment once. I think like basically one coach made a comment along the lines of, "You've been demoted to them lot, or you're playing for them lot." Obviously now I know a lot about American football. I know that obviously the O-line position and the trenches is not a joke, innit? It's not a joke. But yeah, having gone from the prestigious middle linebacker role to what seems to be in some people's minds you're only playing there because you're big role. It's like I've had to take that journey, but realize that the sport is open to anyone to be a superstar. You know what I mean? If you do your job in your position, like the worth that you get from that, and that's why I think this sport is a great vehicle. Anyone, any size, like, obviously flag you're a bit limited, but in terms of actually as a grown man, like to come into a sport and make a contribution, again, it's kept me in team sports. Like, it's amazing.
I mean, we have the comment all the time with our youth guys, like, "Oh, how did they get so big?" Like we got some big guys in our youth team. I'm like, if you look at the team photo, I'm the smallest one in the photo, and it pisses me off, man. Like they all stand massive over us. But I get comments all the time of like coaches and other players, "How are your guys so big?" Like they're like freakishly big, and our guys, myself, all the guys, the only comment that we give back to people is, "Oh, how did they get so big?" Kebabs. That's all we say every time, no matter who asks. That's the comment that we give, and it's just because it pisses people off. If they, "Oh, how do your guys get so big?" Kebabs, mate. Best chip shops in the north. Like that's what we say every time. It doesn't matter if they're big and athletic. It doesn't matter if they're big and like stocky. Like we don't care. That's the same comment for every guy. How do they get so big? Kebabs. Every time, and we don't care.
Well, on a serious note, the one thing I would say is, I can brush that off. I will always make that first joke, but being big it's not a choice for somebody. The reason they're big is because they've got their own problem. Now they might have a mental health issue that they relate and they use to eat food because they're probably addicted to that. So they might have an outlet. I know I feel good after I've eaten a pizza. I shouldn't feel good after I've eaten a pizza because it's just a food. Do you know what I mean? Like I shouldn't invoke that emotion out of that, but so somebody's got themselves into that situation. Be mindful of that because you wouldn't go up to anyone on this chat now and take the piss because they've got, they've admitted they've got mental health, would you? So there's this, and you wouldn't. There's loads of things that you just wouldn't do, and I would always just say with that, just be careful of who you are speaking to and what effect that might have on them. That's all. Like,
I think the important. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, fortunately enough, like without that having a laugh and a joke and all that, I probably wouldn't be here now. And it kind of made me a bit of a figure in Britball. But on the same side, it did affect me and it probably would affect other people more so. So just be careful. And I think the worst thing with it, I think one of my mates was doing it. And that probably, when I found that out, pissed me off even more. Like, that's all. So yeah, just be careful on what you say.
That's where it comes. Where's the line, isn't it? Now you've
Exactly.
You specified game day and training, but again, there needs to be a general line and understanding because again, some of the stuff that gets put out there on a certain meme website is a bit line worthy. But anyway, I reserve comment. Well, I like that grin. I like that grin, Steve. I love it.
The next topic is about online, actually. So we'll delve into the online probably next. But in terms of game day, but there is a judgment because. Even on the flip side, Wayne, the first time I played against you was at Coventry Jets. And Wayne played DM. He had this. Yeah, I played for the Yorkshire Rams. You played for Coventry Jets. And I always remember. I remember because I judged you because Wayne won't mind me saying it. The long hair. He was a lot leaner. He was a lot skinnier then. And I judged him because I thought, I can't wait to block this. Can I go and block him, please? And I remember trying to block him. And him absolutely blowing past me. I couldn't catch him 5 times. I'm like, can I not block him, please, now? So that's a kind of a Britball thing. But again, it's a judgment on someone by their appearance.
Ben, what's your thought?
I think that's precisely it, yeah.
Ben, go on, Ben. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, kind of on that whole body size thing, and it kind of links to kind of banter and bullying as well. But as Victor was saying earlier, like what I loved about American football and like when I came is the fact that I didn't sign up to play. I just thought, right, I'm a big guy, but I'm just going to kind of do my own stuff. I won't even try with a new sport because what's the point? Like, I wasn't as physically fit as I am now. I was lighter, but I was kind of had a lot more fat on me, kind of thing at the time. And these guys from the Wolves came up to me and said, "Do you want to play?" And I said, "Look, I'm the most mal-coordinated guy in the entire world. What the hell am I supposed to do, essentially?" And they said, "No, there's a position for you, I swear." And it was just, Wayne came up to me, said D-line. A couple of guys came up to me, said O-line. I had no idea what the fuck they were saying. I had no idea what they were talking about. But then, like, I kind of found O-line and kind of found it was finally like a place for big guys to play and properly feel like they were contributing. Like, it's a time I can properly feel like I can contribute in a meaningful way to a sport, and my size is a advantage. It's not a disadvantage at all, which is like massive. And I think kind of with the whole kind of body image banter and bullying, it's a lot of societal stuff as well. I have my friends who take the piss out of me for like how big I am, kind of thing. I'm sure other people can relate to that as well. Yeah, it's just a whole big thing about, as Mike was saying earlier, just watch out for who you're talking to about that kind of thing, because you never know. I used food as a massive escape from my mental health, and that I'm not the only one who does that. So it's just a matter of be careful, but yeah.
Mike, Mike, can you hear me, mate? Yeah. You must have you played the game for long enough where you've probably seen some and heard some untoward things. Have you got any advice in terms of challenging that behaviour, and what is it? What have you seen, and have you got any advice for people how to challenge it? You seem a very direct person who would challenge. That's why I came to you.
Yeah, you can sort of tell if someone's not enjoying it. And the thing is folk take the piss out of me, and you can tell, you can get a reaction of someone. But if you can see someone's not happy with it, you can tell them in front of them saying he's not enjoying that, shut up, or you can take him to one side and say, "Mate, there's no fun in this. What are you doing? What are you trying to achieve with this? You're just trying to be a dick." And they usually clam up and they go, "Oh, sorry," because at the end of the day, we've all been brand new. We've all been, at that rookie day going, "I don't actually know where I am." We've all had someone trying to take that with 1 point on. Not quite happy with that. So if someone makes a little bit of time for you to go, he doesn't actually like that. Normally, you go, "Oh shit, sorry about that," and it's bottomed. And that's that's the other thing is I'm like you, if I'm sort of like I like food. I'm a big fan of it, and I'll eat it, and I love the serotonin release of it. It's great. But if someone says, "Hey, you're defo O-line, you aren't you?" I say, "Nah, mate, I'm a cornerback." And it shuts them right down. They've got no comeback. They go, "Oh, are you?" Yeah, no. But
I tell people I'm a quarterback, mate.
I tried for that once. Never again.
Mike, I've got we should have a big boy Britball flag team at Schneider Cup next year. Big boys only. Power in the big boys. I am down. Self-proclaimed best hands in Britain. I could play quarterback.
We can run double wing in flag, right?
Yeah. Stop that.
No, I'm thinking it's all Gated run. I'm there, I'm telling you.
I went to Huddersfield, that was all the same. So yeah, I'm game for double wing.
Let's go.
Yes.
Right. No, thanks for that, Mike. I think just what else, because we've touched on it a little bit, so I think we'll just dive into the final topic, and then obviously we'll shoot because it is nearly cowboy time, 10 to 10. So I think I'm gonna shoot this straight over to Steve really to get your thoughts on this, because the topic is online and it came up. Victor, you came to me straight away. Props for that. It's fine. But online there is always this, and unfortunately, Gridiron memes, which I'm going to give my opinion on it first, whilst I've got the floor. It was set up for the right reason. It's to bring the banter of Britball and bring live characters to life, and let's have a laugh at our sport. It's a fun game. None of us get paid to play it. And Gridiron memes started off as that, and I think sensing from Victor, it moved. And I think I was a part of when it moved, actually, past, it being fun, and it was almost targeting people over and over again. And I don't know who ever run memes, but if I ever reached out to them and spoke to them, they was always very receptive and very personal and talked back to me straight away. And if I ever said I don't like that when it challenges this, they would reassure me and would take it. It was always a good meme, so I never knew who was behind that. So, Steve, obviously, I think that was where you started. Do you want to go into that a little bit and talk about what the reason it was set up for and what it became? And
yeah, so it's funny listening to your take on it, actually, because I'll tell you my own take on it because I was the one that set it up. And it was me most likely that was speaking to you, right? So the way that so I think the best way to understand it is how it evolved and what it continually morphed into based on its success. That's really what happened. It started off as me and Hatch, so another linebacker that played for the Knights, messaging each other on WhatsApp one night, and memes weren't that popular back then. Like, memes are like everything now, right? Like, that's how people read news, based on memes, right? Yeah. Now, back then, people didn't even know what a meme was, or couldn't even say it properly, or so it was it was a new thing, and I got sort of hooked on it a little bit. Memes were a lot more standardized when it started. There were like certain
10 or 15,
certain like styles you had to sort of stick to, and me and Hatch started firing a couple back to each other, like to and from each other one night, and I thought it was fucking hilarious, right? Like, and they were like, I was like, this is gold, and so I created UK Gridiron Meme, or Gridiron Memes UK, I think. No, UK Gridiron Memes, it was called at first, and that was literally just to sort of show people the funny stuff we'd done, right? And we posted like 30, 40 things about common things that people always spoke about. So if you go back to I know you will, but if you go back to the very first set of memes that we did, there were like stereotypical things within the game that everyone knows, and and we just called them out. So like the paramedics not running over when someone's injured, they just sort of saunter over, just shit like that, right? But it was only ever intended for like a microcosm audience. Like, it wasn't, it was like me and Hatch showing everyone the funny stuff that we did. Like, and we shared it with our friends, right? But then they shared it with their friends. And after a week, we had like 900 people following it, right? And in that time, we started making more and more content. And what we ended up getting involved in some like more political things as well. The problem at the time, and this isn't the case now, but at the time within Britball, you had double coverage who would post stuff that was very vanilla or very leaning towards Baffa, never wanted to put their nose out of place because felt that there was too much to lose, tried to be this like neutral good. And fair enough. We were like, fuck that. We'll fucking say anything, and like we were so people were coming to us with stuff that they'd gone to double coverage with, and they were like, no, we're not going to post that because it's, and we were like, yeah, fucking give it here, so people start, like, we then became this, like, we were calling out nonsense. So there was like, Will White ripped loads of people off for shirts. I know I can say that with absolute confidence because I was fucking one of them, but I got my money back. So you played in the game. There was another guy that Hollingsdale or something. He ripped everyone off for gloves. There was the guy up in Edinburgh that was like constantly assaulting people. And so like we started to get like
Horrible
if someone's
bastard.
being a prick, we'll fucking call it out.
Yeah.
And then obviously, you know, we started calling out Baffa stuff as well. But then we were also doing good stuff. Like we were doing like picks, and we were doing like things that we were doing community stuff, but all the time growing, right? And it got. I think if you look at it, I think it's like 12,000 followers that it's got.
Yeah.
I handed it over a year ago to its current owners, whatever you want to call them, people that run it, and I think because of COVID, they're not doing much with it. But in that time, like we did target people. So, for example, there was a very tall player. Yeah, there you go. Look, that's all I need to fucking say, right? And people know what I'm talking about. And we gave him a nickname based on what someone in a comment said about him. And then that was it. That's what he's known as in Britball. This guy, I'm not going to say it, but he took it really well. Like he fired stuff back at us. He messaged us just like you did, Mike. But it wasn't until we'd been running it for how many years? Maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer than that. And in that time, I had more people join in. Like we ended up with a team behind the scenes. It started off with just 2 of us. There's probably about 15 of us. And it then started turning a bit nasty because the people behind the scenes were trying to outdo each other. And they thought to do that, they just had to repeat the things that done before. And everyone tried to be more outrageous than the last, right?
Yeah.
And ended up having to come down on it because I was like, why are you posting this stuff? So I then, because I was like, we're at a stage then where we're like, we're actually part of Britball. Like we're like, if someone was brought in new to Britball, they would be told to go to Gridiron Memes. Like it was like part of the thing, rather than this little microcosm that we started off at. We were like, we were big, and important, I'm not trying to sound,
it's true.
Trying to jazz it up. Like we were a big thing, and I thought, well, that with that comes a responsibility. So I said, look, we're going to stop targeting individuals. And what I meant by that was, so Pete, like your one, Mike, with the fucking the various different things that you got targeted for, because it was the thing is, it wasn't one, it was like 4 5. And Vic's right, it was bullying, right? That was cyber bullying. That was exactly what it was, right?
Yeah.
Now I've got very strong views on comedy and satire. I don't think comedy in any form should be censored, right? But my view is, if you don't like Ricky Gervais, then you don't listen to him. My view is, if you don't like what's that northern guy that's really crass?
Frankie Boyle. Wow.
Oh, Frankie Boyle's another
Frankie
word.
Boyle,
Scottish. If you don't like Frankie Boyle, don't watch Frankie Boyle, because you'll just sit there getting upset, right? Like, so I've got quite strong views that so I never wanted to be censored by someone, but then I also was like, we shouldn't also be trying to make people feel bad, right? So we stopped, and again, like I can go back through the memes and I can see the pattern. I know exactly when we made these decisions, right? But to everyone else, it was just constant content, right? It was just new stuff. And I would speak to people, because I never hid the fact that I ran Gridiron Memes. I only hid it from people who were being dickheads. So someone came into the inbox, Mike, and was like, "Oh, you prick! Oh, if I'll kill you," I'd be like, "Oh, don't kill me!" I'd just be a wanker, right? But if they were actually nice and genuine, I would be nice and genuine back. And if they said, "Look, who are you?" I'd be like, "Oh, I'm Steve, and I play for the Knights," and I genuinely. So there was like loads of people out there who knew who ran it before I started doing Gridiron Hub, and then told people that I ran it. But yeah, it wasn't like, we weren't trying to sort of be this secret thing, but then the 15 or so other people that were involved didn't want to be attached to it, right? Like they couldn't, because they would be chucked out of their clubs or whatever, right? Now, so we made this decision to not, I made the decision to not target individuals. And what I mean by that is, like your one, like the tall guy we were talking about, we never ever targeted under 17s, under 19s. That was always off, like on never even a picture, not even like a fucking picture and made someone look like they're on a horse. Like none of that. It was just we just completely off limits because I just like that wasn't right. And we basically brought people into that. Now the reason I'm going to caveat that is because I still believe there are some people and some types of means that are fair game. So, for example, if you're an official, like a BAFA, like if you've got a role within BAFA, you shouldn't be exempt from being told that you're not doing a good job or a decision has been poor, right?
Yeah.
So like that stuff was still fair game. But if you were an official at BAFA and you had ginger hair, we wouldn't be doing a ginger hair meme about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so it was more about like the contribution to the game. The other one was volunteers. And Vic will actually tell you about a story because me and Vic Knights played the O's and I went over the sideline afterwards and started chatting to Vic. One of the guys knew, or so how did that happen, Vic? Someone said, "Oh, he ran Gridiron Memes," and then all of a sudden, like 5 people around me moaning at me about a meme.
Yeah,
do you remember that, Vic?
Yeah, because I think I got in contact with you about it, and I think you lucky enough got in contact with someone. I think this was quite later on, probably just before you was about to leave. And
this was like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I thought it was just like you're going at someone that's actually helping the team be better by getting
like
them involved in an event. Yeah, basically something like that. And I think it was done pretty quick, but it had its effects. So certain people had heard about it, certain people had seen it, and the general vibe was like, "Come on, man! Like you're going at someone that's not even in and around the sport. Why are you doing that? If this person's trying to help the sport." So obviously
when these guys spoke to me about it, I was like, "Fucking yeah!" and I didn't vet every single piece of content that went out. We had people like it wouldn't make. I would be a bottleneck, right? So I was like, just make stuff and there it goes and. But then we did, after that I did start vetting them and I started saying to people like, the rules, like why are you doing this stuff? However, it's funny because when I handed over, so we then launched Gridiron Hub from Gridiron Memes, right? We used it to lose that platform because that was a clever thing to do.
Sure.
But we had to tone down the memes. So if you looked at like the year or so when it overlapped Gridiron Hub and Gridiron Memes, didn't really go at BAFA much. We didn't really go at like for certain issues. We were like, it was like universally funny stuff, that everyone would sort of go, yeah, there was still like more savage stuff, but it was like, it was more amenable to really anyone that plays the sport. I mean, there's always like the Maidstone Pumas and the Hastings Conquerors, like taking a piss out of, and then there's also the taking a piss out of the best, like the Blitz, the Warriors, the Phoenixes, you always get those. That sort of content, but that's nothing to do with the team. That's all to do with the content. Like, we'd think of a joke and then think, okay, which team's the best team to fit into this, rather than the other way. And I think people thought of it as the reverse, but that's a different matter. But so, I essentially, hearing like when I think back now, like there are loads of memes that we did that were personal, that did attack people, that do qualify as bullying. And it's something that, like I said, I stopped when I handed over to the new guys. I told them, do what you fucking want, but like I would avoid this stuff. And then
straight away,
about 2 weeks ago, they posted a personal one about Phoebe Schechter and Kenny. Yeah. And I was like, I read it, and like I don't think I follow Gridiron Memes, but I get sent stuff. And my phone started pinging off, right? And I was like, here we go. And like pretty much every meme that they post, I'll have someone messaging me about it, no matter what it is anyway, right? Like, I don't know how long it's going to take for people to just disassociate me, but that's how it works. That one, there was loads of people messaging me, and I was like, what is it? I looked at it, and I was like, man, I fucking told him, and it that will do more damage than it does good. Like those, like that doesn't endear a community. That doesn't help. And I think with the rise of this whole thing now, this whole mental health and suicide awareness and all that, like you just can't do it. And I think it was, probably. I don't know.
The funny thing is, you've never been able to do it. You should never have been able to. Not you, but just as a community, we should never put each other in that situation.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
All Gridiron means was the reason it cut worse for me. It was never about the anonymous post. People could always be more savage because it's anonymous, and they're scared.
Yeah.
And I always said, if anyone's ever got a problem, say it to me. It was always the comments. You know, like it was always when I seen that it was that person. That's when I took it more personal because I'm like, you've gone out your way, and I've seen that. Like it was always it being anonymous. I can't even say the word, but I stopped now. That was fine for me because it was a joke. I understood that. But I just think, you know, when I would then actually private message the people and go, if you've got a problem, and then that you could be scratched off for life for me if you didn't respond in the way I liked.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. And I'd take it out on you if I ever played against you, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, well, and do you know what, Mike? It's interesting you say this because I can, like, so coming back only a few weeks, well, 4 or 5 weeks, when Adam said that you were going to be involved in Britball, and I was like, does he fucking know that I used to run Gridiron Memes? Because he's going to fucking hate me. Like, I genuinely thought that you may have a problem with me because of that, you know, my involvement with them. But and like again, I'm not. I don't know. Like,
no, I got the last
saying I didn't do it because I did, but I am saying that it was incorrect.
You've not seen the blueprint of the plan that he's got to get you back. I'm telling you, 6 pages.
Yeah, bring it on. But,
no, to be fair, like with the memes thing, I got the last laugh because we got the national championship and I got the meme.
Well, so and I can remember that.
Hey.
But again, that I think if you remember, we didn't react to that. We actually posted the meme. Because I was like, this is cool. This should, like, that was the right thing to do, is for us to promote that and sort of say, good, this guy's fucking got the last laugh. Like, that was a good way of ending it. We could have easily gone, right, let's get the prick, you know, like, and spend a couple of hours.
Be short of content.
But yeah, like, you know, our reaction to that, which was to promote it and say, well done, congratulate. I think we called you champ, you know, like. It was that was us trying to sort of have a different approach to this and almost like end it.
How has a meme page got more clout than the governing body? This is what really annoyed me over time.
Because we've never lied.
I'm not calling anyone a liar, but I'm just saying that obviously Facebook and the news. I was getting more news from Gridiron Memes than I was from any sort of buffer platform.
But yeah, sorry, it's like. So yeah, it's
you're right.
But yeah, the stuff that we did, there's definitely stuff we shouldn't have done. But we constantly reviewed it and we moved away from it. And yeah, it was. But the problem is, like, I think Gridiron Memes, by the time I left, it was like it put out like 4,000 or 3,500 pieces of content, right? And there were people out there that could have looked at and enjoyed and laughed at and even shared 3,499 of them, and then that fucking one that they didn't like because it targeted their team or something that really struck a chord with them. I'm not saying the bullying ones, that's different, but like that was the thing that resonated, that stayed in the head, and that they remembered Gridiron Memes for. No matter what happened after that point or what type of content came out, it was like that was their opinion of Gridiron Memes would have changed.
Still got 12k now, isn't it?
I tell you what's funny, because I always thought it was someone from Sandwell Steelers, and I thought it was a specific tackle. So I have to apologise to this person, because when we played against them, I promise you, I beat the living crap out of this player, thinking for some reason they had something to do with Gridiron Memes.
Yeah.
And when I say that, like, I literally, all my target for that game was wanting to put him in ambulance. That was genuinely cool. So sorry if you're watching, but I literally never played with so much aggression in my life, because I thought
that's so funny.
Mike,
well,
we need to be honest with you now, Mike.
They were accused by their clubs of running Gridiron Memes or involved. There's loads of people that I speak to now that say, even like Will, who's now involved in Gridiron Hub, he does the live streams. He said he had a head coach that was convinced it was him, and he's spending his time trying to tell him otherwise. And he said then there'd be like a post about something that they maybe spoke about in training, and then that was it. The guy just didn't believe it. I'm like, it's so funny. But
it's like Gossip Girl in Britball.
Mate,
no one's seen Gossip Girl.
From my perspective, like, I wanted to use that platform to do good stuff, and we did start doing some good stuff like charity things and all that. But it fell on deaf ears, a lot of it, because we were a meme page. Hence, that's why we created Gridiron Hub. and that, you know, and I want to, you know, do this hopefully the same level of popularity, but you know, be a force of good in the game now, you know. But like, I still stand there and argue with anyone and say Gridiron Memes did do some good stuff for the game. It's just it's not top of mind when you think about it.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to at some point wrap up. So
yes,
I will, obviously, because it's 10 past 10. Wayne, I'm going to give you the only closing thought of the night. Sorry for everyone else. Mike, Victor, Steve, absolutely thank you so much, guys, for joining.
Cheers, boys.
Wonderful to have you on. Wayne, you've got the closing thought of the night, maybe directing people in the right direction or whatever you need. The floor's yours.
Well, keep your eyes open for the group, which we will, you know, very soon be opening up, so that we can host conversations, you know, like this, and ultimately, you know, push guys forward, and as and where required, you know, go and seek help. By all means, my inbox is always open. Shoot me a message, and you know, I'm sure anyone in this group, you know, if they have a message which resonates to them, I'm more than happy to you know, host a conversation as well. So yeah, if you're ever struggling, talk about that shit, and if you need to, talk to me.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, man. I mean, we will, once you've got information and all that, we will share the living hell out of that for you, man.
Nice one, man. Let's do it.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. And again, anytime, thank you so much for sharing and everything you've done for us tonight. It's been 3 hours out of your night. That's, you know, really appreciate it. Go and make the girlfriends a nice cup of tea and apologise to me. See you later, guys. Thank you very much.
Cheers,
Thanks,
much appreciated.
Yeah,
Much appreciated.
As they drop, they fall, and then there was 2.
Then there was 2, mate. So, guys, what we're going to be doing later on, you'll probably see it maybe tomorrow now. We will be sharing some of the social media of these guys, so we'll be passing like lifting the lid and things like that. We'll put them on our Instagram page so you guys can go give them a follow. They're there if you need them. But I want to share some lighter news. Do you think, Mike? Do you think we should share it?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, you can share it. This has been your baby, so I'll give it you. I'll let you.
It's my baby. I mean, I might have to kick you out the street. Oh no, it's there. It's there. It's there. Look at it. This is what we will be bringing you guys.
Our first bit of merch
on EP Sports. So it's a very Trumpy hat, we're gonna say. So this is our first bit of kit that we're bringing out. It is the Make Britball Great Again hat instead of the MAGA hat. So this will be coming out on EP Sports. When this is up and running, we will give you guys a shout and send you guys some links and things. I don't know what you've done there, Mike. You've just ruined that picture right there.
Classic.
Yeah. So once this is up and running, guys, we'll give you a shout. Obviously, from all of the. Oh, look at them there. He's spinning it around.
Jason.
So
I better not go too far. There we go.
So this is a hat that we're going to be bringing out with EP Sports. What we're going to be doing, so I think out of the purchase of the hat, I think there's like a tub that gets like £3 for each purchase or something like 10% or whatever it is. We'll figure it all out when the time comes. And what we're going to be doing is we'll be putting all that money in together, and then we'll be getting some things for the Britball community and giving them away. So as much stuff as that we can get to give away as possible. And let's get. Yeah,
so we'll be getting a few of these hats ordered. They'll go on a thing, and then we'll try and make some more. None of us are clothing brand legends or anything like that, so we just thought this one would be a bit of fun. And we'll be giving hope.
We had a cracking idea earlier for a T-shirt, and
yeah, that's true. You did.
I'm not autistic, mate. All I do is just think of the ideas and just say, Mike, fix it, please, mate.
Yeah, Mike, sort it.
So
remember, don't tell people I can do those things because everyone asks.
Oh yeah, guys, I can't mention that Mike's really good at photoshopping things. So if you need posters or banners or anything, give Mike a shout.
Well, yeah, and hopefully we'll get to a point where we can get these for guests and stuff coming on the show. But yeah, I think tonight, I think that'll be everything I do. I'm getting daggers from my partner. I'm sure you're the same. So I think we'll wrap up. Thank you so much for everyone who's watched. Thank you everyone who shared. Thank you everyone who's commented. If you've been with us for 10 minutes, 2 minutes, 100 minutes, whatever you've been here, thanks very much. Sorry we didn't get a chance to. We said we might bring people on and stuff like that. I'm sorry we didn't get to do that. Perhaps that'll be on another show. Obviously, we've run 3 hours already, so potentially we'll do that again. But I'm sure, hopefully, somebody's taken something from something tonight. And yeah, that's it. So thank you very much, guys, and we'll sign off.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. If you can all give the stream a thumbs up, a share, that would be fantastic. Our aim of this one tonight was to get people in contact with the right people if they need to. So please give the stream a share. You never know what you guys can achieve with a share.
We will make Britball great again.
We will. Thanks very much, guys. Take care.
See you later. Bye-bye. End it.